Welcome to Wednesday Comics.
Brought to you by rootsoftheswampthing.com and Siouxpercon 2018 Return of the Con.
Hey everyone, keep turning those pages.
Welcome to Wednesday Comics. To my right, we have Plastic Man himself. Alex, how you doing?
Hello everyone.
AP 2018. That's what they call you now. To my left, we have Garrett, the Metamorpho of Wednesday Comics. Garrett, how you doing?
Doing well.
And I am Tom Strong. You thought I was going Phantom Girl, right?
No.
Yeah.
I figured you wouldn't after you said that
We did a
name.
little practice for the show. I was Phantom Girl, though. You know why?
What are those things on her forehead?
Antenna.
Ears?
No.
On her forehead.
Oh, forehead. What do you mean?
Isn't she a space alien?
Well, yeah, she is, but I don't
Okay.
know. But when she's in disguise, like, why? What is this stuff?
We'll talk about it later. We got a review coming up of the new Terrifics
I
number
was just
1.
asking what it is.
Coming up. I know, but I'll look at it when we talk about it.
Since I have to look again, I guess I wasn't looking at it earlier.
We're here to give you some comic book reviews for the week of February 28th, 2018. That's the last Wednesday in February. The year's going by fast. 2 months already.
Jeez.
That is
gonna be Christmas here in the next
58
couple
days.
months.
Nope,
right.
59 days of the year already gone. But like your comics this week, we'll talk about that. And later on the show, we're going to have a special guest, somebody that's going to be at DayCon, Super DayCon. That's this next weekend, March 10th. So go to supercon.com for more information, but we'll keep that guest. You probably saw in the notes. You'll see. The Comic Book Genie's here later. We'll talk about that later. I wanted to bring up to you guys, we're thinking about, a little inside baseball. Before the show, where I was like, hey, what are we going to talk about up front? We call this free talk, this area.
Whoa.
And
is this what this is?
Never
we're trying to
guessed
think
that.
of what to talk about. Marvel announced some new books, but we talked about Marvel too much last week. DC there's a rumor about them starting a new what do you call them?
Black Label.
Imprint, but they got 50 imprints. I don't really care anymore. And actually, they did officially announce a new imprint, Sandman, and then there's rumored another imprint. So they're doing Imprint Central over there. But something I want to bring up to you guys, just a general question, because I'm interested, and actually kind of brought up a little bit before the show. How do you guys, there's so much to catch up on. I'm thinking about on my own, right? Subscribe to Marvel Unlimited, so you can literally read a million stories. I have trades I know I have to read. I have access to Hoopla, which has a million things I can read. A lot of Image, a lot of DC stuff, like old DC stuff. And then you basically just have, like the library, or you can go buy stuff. How do you figure out when you're done with your issues? When do you set time aside to be like, let me catch up and read this stuff?
So what I do is I read 6 issues of my stuff. Then I read 1 issue of my brother's stuff. And then the thing after that is something I'm trying to catch up on, whether it's a trade or issues that I'm trying to read, like in my collection. So it's very slow, which is kind of nice, though. It gives me something like, say I get a crappy stack of 6 books that I'm trying to get through, but I bought them, so I'm going to read them. Like, that's my goal, is to read everything I've ever bought. Otherwise, it's like that money's just going down the shitter, basically. So that little reward at the end of the stack is something I'm trying to catch up on or trying to read.
That's not a bad way to look at it. I guess I never looked at it that way. If you read a stack of weeklies, we'll call them monthlies, and it didn't turn out so good, you go to something that's good,
Right.
catch up with it, get back into that groove of reading. Because when you read something great, you want to keep reading more. But if you
That's
read,
what I just did recently with the Fade Out. I put 2 issues at the end of each one because I was so excited about the story, I just couldn't help myself.
let me ask you a question about something you just said. You read 6 years, 1 of your brothers, and then something in the backup. When you read 1 of your brothers, so you basically read 1 of his weeks, and you read part of your week, and then you catch up. You catch up on his collection quicker than you on yours.
Well, no, just because I only read, so for every 6 of my books, I read 1 of his. So, not really. Like, I always have his books to go through, but I have 3 left. But he gets 3 a week, so
That's
now that I'm finally caught up, I will probably overtake.
It's 3 or less of his. I think I went in there one time, he didn't have anything. He just showed up.
Right.
So, you can catch up quick. And what does he? He just gets Amazing Spider-Man.
No, he gets Amazing Spider-Man, Ben Reilly,
Venom.
He gets Venom. He gets Spider-Man, Deadpool. I don't know why the book sucks. And then he gets the
Turtles.
Renew Your Vows. He gets Turtles. That's 6 books. He used to get Back to the Future, but that series is over, except for like the spinoff series.
6 books.
6, basically.
Okay. And one of them's a miniseries, so.
Yeah.
Alex, what about you? I know you have some things that are in the backups. You actually
I have a whole shit ton
we
of
know
stuff
you're
that's in the
crazy
back.
and you buy issues of series. We're
Yeah.
going to count those the same. When do you decide, I'm going to go back and read these?
So, like, as of right now, my big thing is to stay caught up on my weeklies because since we do a show, it's kind of one of those pertinent things.
Yeah.
I should, not that I'm very good at it, keep caught up. But like this next coming week, I plan on being caught up on weeklies other than the stuff we'll get on Wednesday, which will set me back another like 15 books. But when I'm actually going to be on vacation in the next couple weeks for about 3 weeks, I plan on binge reading past things like the Hickman run in Avengers, New Avengers Infinity. That's actually my big one I'm going to hopefully be done with before I go back to work. So I don't do it. Garrett does, where I read a little bit of everything. I kind of set my to-do stack is everything. Like if I've got Hal Jordan, I'm going to read them all. They're all going to be back to back to back. And then I'll move to a next arc or a next section of books. Because I don't like doing, like, I don't know if you read them all back to back, Garrett. Do you?
Sometimes I will, but I mean, just because like time's money, so I can only do so much. Like catching up on weeklies. I mean, you get like 3/4 of what's on the shelf.
That's true.
So to catch up on that and read stuff in the past and read my brother's stuff, like I'm not gonna live with him forever. So I mean, to do that, I kind of just try to do fair share. I'm actually getting more done when I'm trying to do a little bit of everything, as opposed to if I just try to do just my stuff versus just catching up. Because usually what happens when I'm catching up on one, the other one hits the shitter. So like if I'm catching up on my stuff that I've bought, well, I'm falling behind on my weeklies. Vice versa.
I hadn't thought about it that way. That you're right. Everything gets a little fair share in reading. I'm not including your brother in this list. The one book you read.
It's like, what's that guy in Batman? That Batman Wonder Woman issue that he's fighting the monsters forever.
Oh, the gentleman.
The Gentleman. I'm like fucking The Gentleman, but it's with the comic books.
Wait. You're not fucking the gentleman.
I'm not fucking. I'm like him.
You are the gentleman. Okay.
Well, I was going to mention Will Smith has a great quote that nobody looks at a wall and says, "Oh, I can build that," and expects to build the wall in one move. They build it brick by brick, and that's basically what you're doing. Like, I'm not going to finish all these one by at once. So you take it little by little and just do it.
Right.
You know what? That might be because if you now let's go to me. Never read anything. I just read up on weekly books, and this back catalog is getting way too big. That's why I brought up this question today. I was looking back over here, and I'm pretty sure, like, oh Jesus, that's too much.
There's $40. There's $20. There's $60.
I look at those trades, and I know at least half of them I haven't read. I look at we have that Marvel Limited thing, and I've had it for a good 3 months. I don't think I've read anything on there. I've kind of like I've read issues, like random issues.
Yeah.
But really no. And on Hoopla, I think the only thing I read recently is the things for the book club. But beyond that, I always like borrow stuff. You can borrow stuff, and then it expires after like 2 weeks, I think. And constantly things are expiring, and I haven't finished them.
With Unlimited, I was thinking about like getting sheets of cardboard and seeing, like, looking every Wednesday, because I think it uploads Thursdays. To be honest, I don't know what day the new
I think it's just
weekly
random.
looks.
Actually,
it is random.
I get notifications, and it's always. I don't think it's ever on the same day.
I could always look every Wednesday and see what the new books are, and if I see one that I'm reading, I could just like I would put it in my stack in order, and then when I came up to it, be like, oh yeah, download that issue Unlimited. But that's a lot of freaking forward thinking to do that.
I think my problem is that I look at that trade shelf. I look at my single issues. Like, I'm behind on a lot of single issues. I look at Marvel Unlimited Hoopla, and there's just so much that it's overwhelming.
Right.
And I think your approach is better. Well, first off, it's overwhelming on two fronts. One, there's so much.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to start with. And two, it's overwhelming because it would you are taking time each week or to try to catch up on stuff.
I try to do 6 books. I do that whole method daily. I try to do 6 of mine.
Daily?
Daily.
Oh, okay.
I make an effort to do it every day. I do 6 of mine, 1 of Corey's.
That's more time than I have, though.
And then, I know, but it's I calculate it's an hour a day. Sometimes an hour and a
Holy
half.
shit.
Depending on the book.
You still read pretty quick.
Wait, you can read 6 books, 1 book, and a trade?
No, not a trade. No, one, like I only read a chapter, like an issue's worth of content on that.
I
No,
thought
I'm
you
not
read a
reading
whole trade.
No.
Well, I assumed I figured you're reading an issue or something.
Just an issues.
Okay,
worth
so total
of
7.
Right.
Books.
No,
six. 8.
At least 8.
8 minimum, 9 if the book's
I still
freaking
need
blowing
more
my
than an hour
mind.
for that.
See, but now like
Hour and a half.
like a part of me is like if I did the 6, it ended up being I'm going to read 3 Hal Jordans and then I'm going to read 3 Marvel books. They don't need to be coinciding. They're other books. But I figure for me it's one of those things I don't want to just read one Hal and then be like, oh, I'm going to read Batman next. Well, then what the hell? I have the other book there. I'm going to binge read that to get caught up on it. Because then it's like, oh, at least I'm caught up on this book.
one book.
Yeah.
So I think that's the approach you got to take. Organize and schedule. I mean, that's how you do anything, really. If you're so busy, you got to organize the schedule. Actually, something that I'm becoming more aware of.
Now, if you could only get these comics in a fucking box.
Hey, it's coming along.
Logged.
It's coming along. Logged. That's never going to happen.
I know.
But
Mine are all logged, and what I'm planning to do is go through each. Like, I'm going to go through all my DCs and read boxes and read every issue that I haven't read.
Again?
Same.
Oh, I see. Okay, never mind.
Again? No, I haven't read them yet.
Well, holy shit.
Like, I bought that JLA 125 issues. It's going to take me a while.
maybe one day in this show we'll play a game and the winner can help me organize these comics. Because that's a prize.
I will lose that game on purpose. Alex would probably want to win.
I remember there was...
The weird. Okay, to be fair, I really do like organizing books as long as at the end of the day they're in a box and they're boarded and bagged where they will look nice when I'm finished with them. Marvin, you'll give me a stroke if I help you. Unless
For us, we're like the gentlemen, but we get killed every fucking day.
Yeah.
There's no way we can get that fight done.
Marvin's the never-ending horde.
Right.
You know what? Actually, listening to this show and hearing from other people that have, because also like there's a good chance that my son has ADHD, so I'm reading a lot about it. There's a good chance I have ADHD because people always think when they think about that, they just think about hyperactive. They're very hyper and they can't keep their attention because they're so hyper. There's inattentive ADHD, which you can never remember anything. Check. You always, when somebody's talking, think of something and always like interrupt and be like, oh, this thing. Check. And
Check.
you're unorganized. Check.
Look at this office. Check.
And you can never get anything done because everything's overwhelming for you. And you you're always like, oh, I don't know what to do. Check. So I've been reading all this stuff and I took a couple tests, self-assessment. I'm not a doctor. But let me just say, check.
You've got 2 other not doctors who can check, quadruple check.
My wife also said, because this is a little personal, but I'll say it's funny. Anytime there's an ad that comes on TV for any kind of drug, like, those super commercials are like, no matter what it is, it could be, sometimes there's a drug that's supposed to be for way older people, 65 and older, to make sure that their bones are strong.
Well, I know why you're making fun of them.
And so anytime a medicine comes on like that, I always go, I think I need that. Like, you should get me into the doctor. I got to get that medicine. And she's like, that's for old people. And I was like, you got to start early. You got to build up to this thing. And anytime there's medicine on the screen, I'm like, I need that. I think I need that. And so that's the joke. And it's going somewhere. A TV ad comes on for ADHD. I go, I need that. She goes, yeah, I think you do.
Oh, nice.
So pretty sure everybody knows it but me. And when I read those symptoms, I was like, here's been my whole life. So I've been doing a lot of things to try to get. There's things you can do, like instead of taking medication, to get over that. And that's why I brought this up, because I think this is really something I need to do. And it sounds like the key is
organization
and scheduling. So, and that's actually 2 of the things they recommend for somebody who has inattentive ADHD. So,
well, you're in luck, Marvin, because we have Wednesday Comics big ass calendar behind me, and
we do.
We have comics everywhere that you can organize on your own.
But I think it needs to be a routine. So you do it once a day.
On your own.
So you do it once a day. I think people, if that have a rigid schedule, maybe once a day is not too much. And that might seem like if you make a plan to do it once a day and then you miss a day, it'll become discouraging and then you can't catch up. Yeah. So Wednesday Comics announcement, I think I'm going to start once a week doing what you're doing, because that actually sounds like a good plan.
It is, because you get a little bit done, and even if you like you fail, see what I do, if I fail a day, I let that next day just be finishing the day I started. So instead of being...
the next time you start new.
You don't count it as, I need to finish 8 today. You're just like, I'm going to try 8 if I know.
I'm going to try and get to 8. If I'm not going to finish 8, I'm going to dovetail it into tomorrow. And then that way, that tomorrow won't be so overwhelming. I have 3-4 books left to read, and then I'm not going to read any comics the rest of the day.
You know, and that's a great way to think of it, because I've been, like I said, reading all that stuff about organizing stuff like that. And a lot of times about people get discouraged because they set out to do a list and they don't finish it. And then it's easy to go, well, I guess I'm not going to do anything more because I obviously didn't finish this. But if you can do what you're doing and say, well, this is for tomorrow, I'm good, I made progress.
And then it's not as overwhelming the next day.
We're learning a lot of things today on Wednesday Comics. With that, tell you this up front, it's a different kind of free talk, but I knew that I told these guys that it would go somewhere good, and I think we learned a lot about each other today, and I think we're going to catch up on some of these books. I am finally going to catch up on the Sender.
Bullshit.
I'm going to make that you got to be the encouraging here. I just said
I support you.
Maybe we need to be supportive.
I need to see you read one issue first of that.
That'll be the first thing I read.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you.
Of what?
The Sender.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to catch up on week like Garrett does. 6. Well, actually, I could do 7 because I don't have a brother that has a comic. So I'll do 7. And then
but maybe only do 7 because 6
6
is like a trade. 6 is a trade because normal trades, not nowadays, but it used to be 6 issues would be one trade. Now it's either 5 or it goes fucking
Sometimes
9.
Remember, we need to start you on maybe like 3 books. Get you used to doing.
think 6 is
It's like doing a workout. You don't do 100 push-ups.
here's what I'm going to do. 4 of the issues I got to catch up on, and then 2 of whatever trade.
Boom.
Okay.
It's a good plan.
I'm going to do it on Mondays. Mondays free. From Monday night. Monday night comics. That's what I'm doing.
Because I always send you those little mini reviews because that's the time that I'm reading my comics. I almost do it daily.
Yeah. Okay.
Every time I do those little mini reviews.
This is very exciting for me. Now, here's another thing that into Debate HD, let's check off the box again. Get super excited about something and never does it. Check. So I'll put that on the check.
I'm going to set an event for Monday. We'll make it happen.
I think if nothing else, then he and I need to bug you.
It literally is. That's what it says. It says you get really excited about something and then you lose interest quickly. And if you know anything about me, I'm like, oh, I should read that trade. And I put it on the list, never do it. And that's half of what happens on Hoopla is I borrow it. I'm like, oh, shit, I want to read that. And then I never read it. So you're right. Organizing, scheduling, and being held accountable. So
See, for me, that's my one thing is like I'll make a deadline for something. My hope is to have the new Avengers Infinity read by the time April rolls around.
how many issues is the Sender to the Volume 1?
Volume 1?
Yeah. You think 6?
I would say
No.
5.
Yeah, less than 6. 6 isn't the standard
it's an image
anymore.
book.
In 1 month on Free Talk, I'll talk about the beginning of the Sender.
Okay.
That's how you're going to hear.
That'll be 3 years
That's-
old for us, and we'll be
that's-
like, oh, all right.
Well, maybe I'll bring a new perspective and you guys will get into it.
Works.
Sure.
Once again, we're trying to be supportive.
The hard thing for me to
I literally found out I might have a disease here, and you're laughing about it.
Yeah, I know it's sinful. I support your idea of doing it. It's just like I think he needs to make the event, and then we'll go. Hey, what are you reading today? Almost like we're going to be your parents checking up on what you're going to read today.
It's good. It's good. RootsOfTheSwampThing.com, your definitive online source for all things Swamp Thing. Holland Files number 2 is out. Garrett, how is it?
Holland File 2's was awesome. A lot of cool images that you haven't got to see in Holland Files number 1, so definitely looking forward to finishing this bad boy.
And that's not the only thing. If you want to learn more about Swamp Thing, Alex, where would you go?
You're going to go to rootsoftheswampthing.com.
Make sure to stay in touch at rootsofswampthing.com on Twitter at DC World Swampy, Facebook.com/Roots of the Swamp Thing. Thinking about talking about reading stuff, talk about some books here. And first book we're going to talk about is The Terrifics. It is written by Jeff Lemire, art by who's the art by?
Rice.
Ivan Rice with Joe Prado. It is one of the books on the ongoing New Age of Heroes, DC's new one. What was that originally called, Garrett? Do you remember? Where they called it something and then they switched it to New Age of Heroes?
It was just Dark Knight's Metal spinoff.
I thought it was something else. Wasn't it something else?
I'll look it up because I'm so good at this techie stuff.
Yeah, you look it up there while we talk about The Terrific. So now this is a book that is, like you said, spinning off of Metal. So much so, I believe this is at the end of Metal. They referenced it multiple times. Mm-hmm. Plastic Man at the beginning is still in that egg, but he quickly comes out of it. And
that answered our question. I think you're the one that posed that question.
I did. It said, hey, how did you get out of the egg? Hey, they tell us. So
Because they were never going to have enough room in Metal to do it anyway.
So yeah, I guess so they never intended in Metal to actually show you how he got out. It was all for afterwards. And first off, let me just say something I really enjoyed about this book was the art. Art was great.
Yep.
Ivan Rice, Joe Prado. I can't even tell where one guy stops when the other guy starts. Coloring really great too. There's the coloring in this book. Let's check it out here. Molo. We'll go back to that later. But paneling was great. The moments when they're introduced are great. There's a lot of pages where there's kind of like Jack Kirby-ish kind of
aesthetic
dimension, like the Kirby dots. That was great. Now here's something that I'm going to say, and I think maybe we might be on the same page, maybe not. I felt like I was so hyped for this book. This book feels like it's like 10 pages too short.
10 pages too short.
Like it feels like we just get into it and then it stops.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all those Metal ones though, because they're $2.99, 20 pages.
That's what it is. I feel like they wanted to get it at that price point, which is great. But maybe do like a DC Rebirth where it is still cheap, but it's a little longer.
Kind of like an annual that starts all these.
Like first issue, like that would have been the selling point. $2.99, 30-page start first issues.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and I think it happens with all of them so far, they feel like they just get into it. Like Mirror Sideways, felt like it just got into it. He meets that guy, and then boom, the end of the book.
Yep.
Same thing with this one. We go through the book, they meet Tom Strong, boom, the end of the book. And it feels like, give it a couple more beats, and then I'm 100% satisfied. Not that it was bad. All of it was good, I thought.
Just needed more.
I just needed a little more. And not even to the point where I would be like, oh, I really want more of this, and that's what it should be doing. It feels like it's a little incomplete.
Well, it just it just kind of drops off the cliff. Here's the cliffhanger, but there's almost no hanging on. You're just kind of like, boom, here's a wall, you're done.
Yeah.
Now I want to ask a question. Yeah. I know Marvin knows this, and like I can tell 100% why he's excited for this book. Now I want to ask you, what's your first impression on Plastic Man?
I love Plastic Man.
He's the fucking best. He's the best.
He's actually my favorite character in this book.
Oh, he's so good.
Mr. Terrific's kind of. I know there's the Fantastic Four tie. I get Thing is Metamorpho. Plastic Man is Johnny Storm.
Very loosely, but Mr. Terrific is a scientist. Like first and foremost, he creates those T-spheres.
And so I was like, oh, he's the smart guy. He's the brain. And then
Metamorpho's the muscle.
Yeah, who's the girl's name again?
Phantom Girl.
Phantom Girl. The only thing with her, I really didn't get enough of her.
Right, and I think they will explain more. I think they were establishing them like how they met first off. How they were like telling how she's like intangible and stuff too, so basically the Invisible Woman. But yeah, there's something about Plastic Man, and I blame Injustice for it. I've been getting Plastic Man for the last year, and I love that character. But it was cool to see how he got revealed, continuity wise, into the DC universe, reintroduced, and I love how he like wakes up and he's like, "Wait, I was a freaking egg for how long?
You guys didn't fix me?
What the hell?" Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot of comedy. I think Jeff Lemire really nailed it on Plastic Man, because I've read a lot of old stuff and it seems just the same.
The things in her hair that you were asking about earlier, it just seems like they're kind of like a futuristic hairband. Holy Maker hair.
Interesting. Or barrettes or something.
Yeah, there's one panel specifically where you kind of see it. Like it's just Holy Maker hair. So.
Okay. Oh. But I agree with you, Marvin. I think like that what really ruined it, like Damage, didn't get any backstory on the main character, and I was like, fuck, okay, why do I care? And then Sideways, they were a little bit better about it. And then Terrifics, I think there's more. Yeah. I understand it's a team, so they're going to have to, give us more content for each character. So I was like, okay, I'll forgive it because like it's plenty of information right now. But
they all feel like that, like they're weird first issues. Like I feel first issues they're always putting a lot in to try to grab you. Where this feels like, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's just a form of storytelling that. We'll have to get used to, but it feels like they planned instead to write the 6 issues and like it'll slowly get there, like a slow kind of burn. Whereas normally, like I said, they throw everything in that first issue and then the rest is kind of like, oh, I like that first issue. But
you think they would too because they give you those. Well, I guess you got it digitally, but when you buy it in print, they get the fold out covers. Yeah. It's like that's an added feature. Why wouldn't you just add 10 more pages and
is it possible that the slow read for these books is that Metal hasn't finished, and maybe there's something in Metal that will help move things along, or these books you think well enough on their own that as of right now, Metal hasn't ended, and I had no.
I don't think there's
problem
anything in
reading
those in
Terrifics.
Metal that's gonna change this at all because they literally talk about the end of Metal a million times in that issue.
And that
I
egg
think-
and that egg plastic man is still an egg plastic man.
I
And-
think DC's just scared that no one's going to get these books. And that's the whole reason that they're keeping the price point low. They want to see people get like hooked on these books first
Yeah.
before they start like
It seems like the safe
going all
choice,
out.
kind of like how a lot of DC books at the beginning of Rebirth were $2.99. It seems like, but for some reason, those number ones, those Rebirth issues, felt like the opposite. Like those were great one issues.
Yeah.
And this just feels like eventually the arc's going to be great. So if you're reading it in trade, it's probably you don't even notice. But it just feels weird. Like this really is, instead of being like an episode of a show, it's just like the first act. And I really do feel like a lot of issues usually are like enough to be like, oh, I'm satisfied with that issue.
Yeah.
This one was like, oh, isn't it like, I feel like when I got to the end of mine in digital, it's kind of hard for me to tell that it went to that preview. It's the first time I saw that preview. So for a second, I was like, is this the second part of the story? And
Oh,
then
for Brimstone?
And then I flipped back and it was the preview for Brimstone. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, this is just a preview. I expected it to go a little longer than this, but that was the end of it.
I've also noticed in the New Age of Heroes, they don't do like a next or to be continued. It just cold cut. You're like done.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good. It was a solid 8 for me, but I felt like there was more that could have happened. More potential.
I want to see like how they actually work as a team because this was more like they fell together as a team, and it was more. I want to see them work together as a team, but I'm sure we'll get there. But
It's definitely a great start. But I
right.
mean, like, in terms of an issue, I want a little bit more. But
Does Mr. Terrific have super strength or anything, or is he just science techie smart?
Science Techie Smart.
is he the third smartest guy in the DC universe?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or first.
He's one of the greatest
Top
intellects. And like those T-spheres are they're better than any technology we'll ever have.
Well, because I was curious because they're fighting those buggy things that must have been eating the ginormous thing that was dead. And no one's really doing a good job fighting. When I realized they're not a team yet, they're just hanging out. And they don't know what they're getting into. I don't know. It was one of those things I thought. I wondered if he had any ability to fight other than I can throw a punch at you with my sweet tech spheres.
Everybody that's
T-spheres.
everybody that's involved in this book has proven to me that they're good storytellers. You know, Jeff Lemire, obviously, the year Jeff Lemire was last year. Of course. Continue it this year. We have Ivan Rice, who did great work on Green Lantern that I love. And we have Doc Savage. He's going to be coming on in the second arc. So, Doc Savage, that's his name, is it? Yeah, it is. Even Doc Savage is what he calls himself. There's a lot of great work that he's done. So, I know that I can trust him and keep getting this book. I feel like, and I like these characters. But I feel like if I didn't know these characters and I didn't know the people involved, and this was just like random people, I wouldn't get the next issue.
I think for me, this helps having Jeff Lemire, and a writer I know, and Ivan Rice as the artist. I don't know any of these characters other than I know Mr. Terrific through Metal.
Right.
And I actually do know Plastic Man from way long ago. Like he's one of those characters that just like randomly shows up somewhere. It's like, oh, I know who that is.
See,
The other two I don't know.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say what's exciting for me and puts a smile on my face is like this is a new age of heroes, but it's heroes that we've had in the DC's continuity in the past. Like not all these characters that are being created in these books have past. So it makes me smile thinking that people might go back and read Plastic Man, might go back and read Mr. Terrific or Metamorpho comics or things like that. And it's like, what a cool way to honor your legacy, DC legacy, and have people be able to have a chance to go back and love the characters that you're going to get them to love now.
I hadn't thought about that. These are actually characters that have already been established before, where everybody else is a new character being brought up.
Right.
Oh,
were you saying,
yeah,
Marvin?
that's true. I was just going to say the Plastic Man, when he gets out, he talks about how Batman told him to go to the Dark Universe. Well, two things. First, we know that they say that the Dark Universe is closed off, and then that guy opens it up, and they were saying, hey, we're trying to get around not opening it, but now that we can, Plastic Man, you're back. And so we know, obviously, at the end of Metal, they close it. So, I mean, not that we didn't know that was going to happen, but obviously, we know that's going to happen. But also, second, when it explains, he was like, oh, yeah, I remember Batman telling me I need to come over here. So is that kind of just retconning where he's been this whole time? Like that's
I don't think he was a hardened egg.
I don't think that ever happened.
I don't remember reading that in the Forge or the casting.
So it's just something that we're supposed to assume that that's where he's been. The whole rebirth.
It could have been like,
Or
I
even
doubt
52.
it. I don't even think Scott Snyder has the skill to be able to do it. But, he's been planning this storyline for years.
Yeah.
There's no freaking way. Even if it was pre-New 52, if he somehow got Ralph Dibny accidentally falling in a portal and turning into an. I don't think it's happened, but
the
it
thing
could've.
is he didn't go there accidentally. He went there for a purpose.
right.
Batman
Sent him there, but is Batman always like, oh, here's this thing you're going to do that you don't know about?
Yeah. So
It's probably that one time on JL when it's like, hey, Plastic Man, go do this. I'm sleepy, but go over there and do it. Oh, if I fell asleep, doesn't tell him what to do and just gets stuck there.
speaking of retcon, let me retcon something I just said a moment ago. I probably actually, if I didn't know who the writer was and the characters, there's enough for me to like look through the next issue. But since I know them, I can blindly get the next issue and go, I'm pretty sure it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be more to it. So, solid 8 for me. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'd give it an 8.
It was enjoyable.
There was
It didn't
things
blow
I
me
really
away,
liked, but
Didn't blow me away, but it was nice little scrumpet.
alrighty.
Was that anything?
What'd you
Better
say?
be an upward.
A scrumpet?
A scrumpet. I don't know. That's a weird combination of words.
Sounds cool.
You know what is a good combination? Is Saga, issue number 49, written by Brian K. Vaughan, art by Fiona Staples. This is our first issue back from a, 3 month?
3 months, I think.
I think it was October is when he told
there
it.
in the letter pages.
I
So,
didn't even notice that at the bottom of the cover says we're all completely fucked.
yeah. Did you like this issue, Marvin?
Yeah, I did. A lot.
It was, the first thing when I opened that book?
Of course, Saga has to have the first page. Would always, you can't read it at work. Never try to read it at work.
Show me
First page, we open up to Dong.
Will.
Will Dong.
The Will's dick just hanging out.
So we have, what's the character called with the mole face?
Oh,
Is that a mole?
It's a mole.
Naked mole rat.
No, it's not Nicky Mole Rat.
Oh, it's just
Rufus.
But hey, let me find her name.
Does she say it in there? I don't think they say it.
Yeah, he calls her by the name.
Oh. Well, anyway, she has the Will captured and has a collar on him to be obedient. They're trying to find, obviously, not Fiona, trying to find Marco
Go ahead.
and his family. And then we cut to Marco and his family on the ship. The thing I love most about this issue, Alex, is that we've been away for 3 months. I'm pretty sure they don't say it in the first couple pages. We've been away for 3 months, but the way to reestablish where we're at, any kind of relationships we had before we left, the whole issue takes place on the spaceship and basically reintroduces characters in a way that's like they woke up and they're trying to be like, oh, what's going on here? And you know what I mean? Like it's a way to introduce them back. Like you could literally pick up this issue.
Oh, wait, sorry, not to interrupt you. The reporters are alive.
Yeah.
Very alive.
So
They're
go back in time and
they're in half of this book.
give Alex a point.
Blame Wikipedia and
I
Image
do.
Comics' website.
I tell you, but
So there's a lot of things. We see Marco and Elena, right?
Elena.
We see a lot of things with the Prince Robot and what's her name?
Petrie.
Petrie. We see Gus and the Walrus, his friend, Friendo.
Friendo.
They're on the ship. I actually forgot they came, so that was nice to see
Squire and Hazel.
them. Squire and Hazel, and we see the reporters, and they kind of reestablish where we're at and where we're going. Like they really want to tell some sort of story, Marco's story, and they say no. So instead, Prince Robot says, "Hey, I heard you make Marco a deal that if they told their story, you could basically put them in witness protection, and our witness protection is use this magic to make you look like totally different people. Nobody would ever find you." Prince Robot says, "I want you to do that for me." And they're like, "What story do you have?" And he has a story in the last arc when they blew up the comet full of people that they thought it was some sort of natural disaster, but it turned out it wasn't. It was, what's that side of the war
I
called?
can't remember what the
Not the
Wills.
Moonies, but the other ones.
Landfalls.
Yeah. They blew it up. And so it'd be a big scandal if they knew it came out that they blew it up. So, because I think a lot of people, they were his own people. That's why. To kind of like propaganda to be like the Moonies did it. They used Mooney magic to blow it up.
To be fair, I thought this isn't
False flag.
Yeah, well, I was thinking this looked like the Will, and it's not the Will. You're right. It's a feather guy, a flyer.
So at the end, in the last panel actually is pretty great because Prince Robot, he wears his emotions on his face. And in the last panel, he's like, "I want you to make this deal," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we really want that story." And all over his face is like, "Don't do it. This will be the end."
Please say no. The story will be the death of us. Please say no. The story will be the death of us.
So he knows it's a bad idea to put this out there. It's going to put a lot of people's lives at risk, but he's going to take it for his own personal satisfaction to get away with his new lover and his kid. So a lot of good stuff. Like the thing between Squire and Hazel was great. They were fighting physically, and Gus is like, "Hey, use your words."
Well, Hazel bit him.
Yeah.
Hazel bites Squire, and Gus comes out and says, "Hey, use your words. We don't do this."
So Squire says, "You look ugly with that tooth missing."
Hazel, you look dumb without that front tooth. Hazel responds, "Yeah, well, you look dumb without a mom." It was horrible, but I laughed out loud.
And actually, so those moments, it's like funny, but then also you get that moment when the narrator, which is Hazel, older Hazel, says that, she didn't grow up with TV screens, and actually get kind of like a meta commentary on today's society from Brian Kevon, saying that because she hurt somebody face to face, she could see how it hurt him, and like look at him and see how it hurt him face to face and see how it affected him. And it made her sad to see she would make somebody feel that way. And it kind of separates you. Like, if you can do that and you feel no remorse still, then you're really, truly a killer. And you're a horrible person. And a lot of times people through screens can't see that, so they just put out words and they never see what happens to people.
Yeah, but the irony is that Squire's face is a screen.
That's true, but he cried. So
how do you know? You don't. I mean, he runs away with his face.
He covers his face. Right?
Yeah,
yeah. So I think.
But on this bottom corner, you see whatever he is lit up. She sees in his.
She sees it. So
she's scarred by what she sees.
Enough for her to cry about it. So.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of good stuff there. We get a good stuff with Marco saying that they're closer because they're running away, and so that relationship's getting mended. Just a lot of good stuff. Like I said, I think months ago when this was out, a lot of good characters in this that when I read this, I never feel like, oh, who are these guys again?
No.
I feel like when we read this issue, like I just said at the beginning of this review, it felt like we were catching up with these people. What have they been doing for the last couple of weeks? Or I don't know how long they've been gone in the comic, not in the actual real world. But so it's great. 9.
I said this was the 9, not quite a 10. I was ready to give it a 10, but it wasn't perfect. There was something missing, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just I
think because it was a more subdued issue, where it's just them in the ship and like waking up, and you know what I mean. There's a lot of emotion in this issue, but there's not really a lot of plot progression. But which is fine. This book really doesn't need that.
Well, you got the new bad guy is the mole lady.
Yeah, I don't. What's her name?
I'm not going to look for it because
issue 50 next month. There's going to be one variant cover, which is an artist appreciation variant cover that Brian Kevon's putting out, and basically just the back pages saying how great Fiona Staples is, that she's put out this book on time, month after month, not counting for breaks, obviously, because they tell us how times they're going to take breaks. And she's had things go on with her family. She actually was involved in a natural disaster, and a lot of stuff happened, but she never failed to put out the book on time. So the next issue is dedicated to her. So 50 issues of Saga is a great little run they have, and I think Brian Kevon said he's going to keep going for a while, so should be good.
I thought we were trying to get to 100.
Yeah, I know he has an end in place. I'm not sure what the issue number is, but he has an end definitely, but he said it's not for a while, so it could be 100.
I love this book.
It's great.
I remember the first issue, not the issue that I bought, the like $1 one. I was like, oh, this is okay. Papa P. Super sold. Love this book.
Once again, though, I just noticed in our review, didn't talk about Fiona Staples' arts. It's always just a 10. Just assume it's a 10. There's no great artist, I think, working comics right now.
In all honesty, she probably is the number one.
Everything about her art, even like just the facial expressions when Hazel sees how she hurt Squire and just like her crying in that panel, there's enough there for me to feel bad for both people involved. And it really can go from silly, Will Dong in the first panel, or the first page, and then we get to that page and I feel sad. So she can go both ways. She can do humor and real human emotion. So, which is ironic because I'm human.
So I wish your guys' review on that book ended like 50 seconds ago when you said something feels like it's missing, because that's what I was about to say about the last 12 issues of our next book, which is Royal City number 10, written, drawn, and colored by Jeff Lemire.
We had this little discussion before this started. I don't think it's missing anything.
The last 12 pages were ripped out of my book.
We were never promised that we would see how he died.
I'm not saying you have to see how he dies.
The last couple of days of his life before he died. That was always the thing.
To be fair, I think my problem is that I built up how Tommy was going to die. is that
Yeah.
I don't know what that prescription is. I don't know how to pronounce it or what it's actually
It's for cluster headaches.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read that, don't drink alcohol with us and thinking, okay, he's going to go to this party.
Don't take more than 2 and 24 hours.
He goes to the party. He's going to drink. Holy shit, he drank. And then he's going to, judging by the cover, pulling a Garrett, he's going to drown.
Yeah, I thought this was, I know, like, they don't have to show us.
But isn't that part of the suspense that you think all these things are leading to his death and then not really?
And maybe that's the big faux pas for me is that here's the surprise. The things I was building up aren't right. He dies of a heart attack.
I'm not saying that
getting laid.
I'm not saying that you're wrong to feel unsatisfied by that ending, but here's how I took it. When I saw that ending and it ends with him having sex with his brother's girlfriend or girl he was seeing. I'm not sure if they were boyfriend girlfriend. And they get to that point, and he says, "This was the last thing I did before I died."
This was the last entry in his diary
before he died. He never got to write his final entry because this was the day he died. I took that as, and then it ends, that Jeff Lemire is telling me, I'm not sure, is there a final page of letters in here?
I don't think so.
No.
I take that as Jeff Lemire telling me that I've been focusing on the wrong thing in this arc. It's never been about Tommy dying. It's about how he lived those last few days before he died.
With a headache.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of him, like his journal entries. You see a little bit about him, see a little bit about where people were and like the things that led up to where they are now. And so this issues have been like their past, like their dreams of their past. Then now we see that they all been crushed in the future. So.
I guess I didn't think about it that way. It's not all about Tommy. This whole arc isn't about Tommy. It's Tommy living with his family, and you watch Tara's pregnant and doesn't want to keep the baby. You see that Pat is still a shitty writer.
Has tons of books on how to write, but he can't figure out how to put pen to paper.
Yep.
I'm kidding. Well, no. So I thought this was a great book. Okay. So I'm not being too harsh on it, but I get like I can understand ambiguously how you could say that's the end of this arc. But the thing that happens in his journal entry that gets described, by no means does that seem like a catalyst. And it might not even make any difference to the fact that he is going to take his own life. Okay, or he's going to die anyway. He's not taking his own life.
Oh, honestly, I didn't read he was going to kill himself.
Not suicide, whatever. He drowns. But like the thing is, I mean, it seems like he's almost wanting that though to escape these headaches too, though, which is probably why he goes underwater. But I don't get. He said the headaches got worse, but I'd like to know a little bit more. Boom! I had sex. Now my headaches suck. Like they're even worse than they were before.
I don't think that's part of it, though. It's not supposed to explain his headaches. That last thing in his entry is because he's been writing in his entries like his thoughts and like what he dreams to do. He wants to be a writer, and he gets to that point, and he thought the thing that he really wanted was to be with that girl, and then it happens, and it's over so quick that he realizes that maybe he thought that he wanted that so much, and then it turned out to be disappointment. That like he puts on in his journal to be like, maybe because everybody has dreams, and he said, I'm not gonna let my dreams die. One of his dreams is like, that's really my dream girl, and he gets with her. He's like, maybe I didn't know what I wanted in life, and that's what I took it as. Like that's what he puts in his journal, but then he doesn't get to put his final entry in there. We don't figure out like what actually like what does he learn from that? Where does he go from that?
Yeah.
Like he ends up dying after this, we know. So he goes through this day where he doesn't want to go to the party, but they make him go to the party. When he's at the party, he feels like such a loser. He feels like such a loner. He's never felt more alone than when he was around all those people because he doesn't belong there. And then he sees that girl crying in, what's her name? I don't keep calling her. He sees her crying in the woods, and he's like, yeah, my brother's an asshole. I'm sorry I saw her with that girl. And
it's his brother's girlfriend.
Yeah. What'd I say?
No, I don't know what her name is, but
I thought it was like Maria or Claire.
He sees Claire in the woods, and so for him, seeing her in the woods crying, he's like, oh, like I feel so lonely at the party, like I can't be with anybody. Oh, this person, I know I can be with her. And then he does it again. He's like, I never felt more alone in that moment when he says like it lasted like 2 seconds, and then she just gets silent and gets cold and distant. And he's like, oh, I'm alone again. I think that's what I took from that.
I see that 100%. I see your perspective. Absolutely. I feel like if we're going to go back to the present day right after this, I feel like there's still pieces. I think there could have been a little bit more.
I think we know he drowns, though.
We know. I know. I don't need to see him dying is what I'm saying. I want to see, like, you don't even have to show. It could be the next arc could be like 2 weeks after he dies, 3 weeks after he dies. But I feel like we're gonna miss out on a piece of the story that explains more about those characters, because I feel like I don't know enough to why this family feels this much guilt, because they obviously cared for Tommy.
Yeah.
They took his eyes off him for 2 minutes, but who else that has a sibling didn't like fuck up and like, oh shit, that person's over there. I should have been watching him. I screwed up.
Didn't in Jeff Lemire, one of the last letters thing, talk about this not going to be the only past arc that we will see other stuff?
I don't know if I saw that.
I think he said it was going to be like 2000s. This is like 90s, and then it's going to be like 2000s.
Oh, well, that's still, I mean, it's still pretty far away, though. I mean, I would like to see, like, freshly, like, maybe after the funeral, whatever, where all this guilt and resentment and how it tears apart the family that we come to see in the first arc of Royal City.
Well, I think we see the butt of that when they're all at the party and they're like, "Where's Tommy at?" Like, and then Richie's like, "Oh, he's out there drunk." Like, I think he's drunk and he's feeling like a loner. So he takes it as like this, my punk little brother, as a joke. And then, he dies. So like the guilt he feels is that he never cared enough for his brother to listen to him, really. And then she, the sister, Tara, is like, "Oh, where is he at?" And she feels guilty. She's like, "I should have been watching him." Well, he's not well. And so at the end of the party, she's like, "Where is he at? Where is he at?" And what does Richie do? Not Richie. What's up?
Pat.
Pat.
Yeah.
Nothing. He
was just kind of like, "Oh, I don't want to be here anymore. This is boring."
Because people keep asking what he was going to do after.
He feels he's embarrassed that he didn't go to a school. He's been busy working at the factory.
You're right. He doesn't say anything. He's just like, "I'm embarrassed. People keep asking me. Everyone just keeps asking me what school I went away to. I feel like a total loser." It's like, who gives a shit? So I actually, during this arc, have liked Pat less.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of felt good for him, be like, good, he did quit. He's not going to be living this thing. And then we have him in this issue, like, try to pursue his dreams, but then give up so easily and want to go to that party. And then he gets to that party, he's mad that everybody is concerned about him, which is like, he just comes off a total dick in that party, which I think is the purpose of that party, to show how she's concerned. He's all self-centered, care of himself. And Richie's just like, oh, like just trying to have a good time. Like, that's his whole life. When he gets older, he never falls out of that because he's stuck in that moment when Tommy died, because that's what he's always known.
I think all the Pike kids, excluding Tommy, are all dicks.
I thought the best part of this issue, I'm not sure if you guys agree, so we've seen the ramp up in the last couple of issues of his mom trying to decide if she loves her husband anymore, meeting an old flame, and decided, no, I'm not going to pursue that. But still, and then she gets home in this issue from that, and she sits down, and there's that great line where it's like, I think people think they know what lonely is, but they don't know what it is until they truly feel lonely, and it's her sitting in the dark, and it's just so depressing to be like,
that was hard.
She has kids, she's married, and yet she's lonely. It's just the loneliest she's ever been in her whole life. She doesn't feel like anybody's there for her. We don't even know her husband is getting fucking radios probably.
Well, it's like, to be fair, she can't be mad that her kids are out doing stuff. They're in high school. They've got lives. But I would wonder where Pete would be at. It's like,
but that's the thing. It's not about them being present physically. It's about them being present emotionally for her. Nobody's emotionally available for her.
They don't like her.
And so that's why she feels so lonely in that moment. And I read that panel, and it was really depressing for me. And when we flash forward to her current, we know that she's cheated on her husband while he's in a coma because he had a stroke. Might not feel too bad for her. I mean, I feel like she's being a horrible person. I mean, after you live a life like that for so long, I'm really going to blame her where she's like, I got to find happiness somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, yes. Don't cheat on your husband when he's in a coma.
Morally, yes. I was going to say, there's things that
live your life.
Yeah, but there's also when you've made them,
I know. Think of your husband, yes. But he's not thinking of her.
Yeah.
So
he's in a coma.
I mean, even this, there are two healthy people in this whole arc, and he's never home.
She's boring.
And you can tell the dad, I mean, he's not in this issue at all. He's supposed to be, because there was one issue in this arc where he was supposed to be looking after Tommy, and he's like fucking buying radios.
Yeah, he's too busy concerned about himself and about what he wants to do with his life. Yeah, and as a father, I read this issue being like, he doesn't know where his kids are. Like, he's not even like at home.
When did this turn into a Disney movie?
I really like this issue. I understand, like, not getting the ending that you wanted. And actually, when I got to the end, I was like, oh, I thought they would show like how he died. But then I kind of thought about it and I was like, well, I don't think really, like I said, I came to the end of this issue and I was like, I think the point was not to show how he died. Like, you don't need to see him. Obviously, we know he drowns.
Well, maybe it's not, do I need to see him drown? No. I need to know how he got back to the water. Because that's my one thing. He's laying on the I don't even think he's anywhere near the water. He's laying next to a log next to this girl. I guess
it doesn't happen right after that because he has time to go home.
Because I imagine that he just like rolled over, fell asleep, and then drowned upside.
It's not that moment because he had to go back and write that entry. Yeah. So he couldn't have been right then, Alex. He had to go home, write the journal entry,
and be like, "I'm going to leave this ... wide open. I'll come back to it later."
Got my compass out. Dead. The river's due north. See ya.
Well, that's only if you believe. I'm not sure if that entry is like actually entry he made or if it's like him as a ghost telling the story. Monologue. Yeah. Because we know that he exists in people's mind as a ghost telling the story. So,
Jeff Lemire's art, though, we never talk about either. Pretty good art. I think the art is very.
This might actually have been the weakest issue art-wise for me.
Oh, really? I was going to say I thought it was the strongest.
Oh, really?
The strongest.
This is the one I was like, oh.
I thought the coloring was the strongest. Maybe not the pencil work, but the coloring definitely for me was the strongest. There were a couple of panels where even like the way he contoured people's faces, like actually made him kind of pop and look real, like this right here of Terra. Yeah. I was just like, well, actually, it looks like his art obviously is not a realistic style, but like in this panel here, I was like, oh, it looks pretty good.
She had the most like dynamic face. Like her face looked really good, but there are other ones where the three boys, and I realized that are siblings. A lot of the characters looked a lot alike in this issue, and I was like, oh, at the party at least.
Well, I think that's a Jeff Lemire thing.
No, and I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that that's something that I noticed is that you get the almost literally one girl, Tara, and she's got great colors on her face. She's got great lines. She looks really good. But then I look at these other characters, like, oh, you're fine. But it didn't seem as strong for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you line up Jeff Lemire's characters in all his books, they all look the same. They only have to be like a Sweet Tooth. It's like, oh, he's not really human. Underwater Welder, he's like, oh, he's wearing a wetsuit. Like, you have to put something else on it to be like, oh, I know who that is.
Yep.
It's really strong for me. I like that it was a 9.
This is a 9. I agree. It was a 9.
I gave it a 7.
Whoa. That sex scene really pissed you off.
No, I mean, I know you guys keep thinking that I want to see him dead. That's not what I want to see. I need more perspective.
He's a masochist. He needs to see Tommy die in that water.
I just told you. I just literally said.
I know.
No.
I'm kidding.
I just need more perspective. And this deeply affects the father and I guess the mother. You get one page and you get some earlier pages in the arc. But, I read this issue and I went online and this is the end of the arc. If they're never going to come back to this timeline, if he's never going to come back to this timeline ever again, I think that is, I might be early saying this, but then that's not doing justice to the whole story. You can play around. You don't have to show the death, whatever. I don't need that. I want to know how, because obviously losing a sibling is going to be traumatic for anybody. But how does that make that yes, they're already fucked up, but what's going to propel them to keep fucking up their lives for 30 odd years? Because I don't know. I feel like there's just a huge chunk of the story missing, and it could be shown in those 2000 ones that you were mentioning. But up until this point, I don't know. I feel like the rug's been pulled out from under me. That I'm like, this is it. You went back in time. This is your one chance. Yeah. If you're never coming back to this time, that's it. I
just was thinking about it now while you're talking that all these. Every character, at least in the Pike family, they're all self-servant. I mean, they're all doing their own thing. They actually, yes, they talk about each other, but none of the 3 siblings go to find Tommy. They leave him alone.
Well, you don't see if they do or not.
Tara's busy doing her own thing. Got her own problems she's trying to figure out. Pat can't write, and no matter how much she reads, won't figure it out. But they never hey, what do you got going on? What are you doing? Let's be a family. Well, it's
Richie
we're all on our own.
But for his own reasons.
I said Rich is he just wants to get drunk and sleep with everybody he can.
Was it in this arc when somebody was gonna have dinner and his mom was making dinner and literally nobody was home except for that one
first
person?
Arc.
Yeah, it was the first arc. Okay, well that makes more sense. Nobody's gonna be home. But yeah, I think what Alex says is correct. I don't think we've ever seen in this whole arc a situation where they were all together except for this party. But even then, it's still just the kids.
The only thing that showed up is that the 3 boys go together. Pete's never there. Mom just got back from talking to the old flame at the bench. And Tara's, and again, I realize these characters all have stuff going on, but they never seem like a family unit until, I'm guessing, Tommy dies. They're going to be pulled back together, and they're all going to have their own grievances and gripes against someone else.
So it's like when you bring a bunch of negative or positive ends of a magnet together, they're going to repel. They're going to repel, and that's what's going to happen. But we'll never see it.
Yeah.
Moon Knight 192. This is written by Max Bendis. Jack and Burrows on pencils, colors by Matt Lopez.
Jason? Jackin? I think it's Jason.
I think it's Jackin.
I don't know.
We got Crazy Runs in the Family Part 5. Alex, what do you think? Moon Knight. You like the cover already.
I love the cover. The cover is actually my favorite, but I had a gripe with it Garrett style. There were no that cover was misleading. I was expecting the end of the last arc was, oh yeah, he got thrown into the water. Nope.
But Alex, I got you. It was a metaphor.
Whoa.
He was in a situation where he was
bad guy waters.
Boom.
Yeah. There was some great 2-page spreads of watching Moon Knight beat the shit out of people.
That one where, okay, that's what I wanted to bring up. That's my favorite part of this issue, where it shows him right before he's about to do the final strike, and in the red part, it does like the actual finisher.
So anyway, it starts off with Moon Knight and is talking to dead face Frenchie.
Kind of looks like Nuke. Or no, Frenchie you mean.
Yeah,
sorry,
Frenchie.
I thought you were talking about the other guy.
Nope. Looks like Frenchie. Or it looks like dead ghoulish Frenchie. Now, Frenchie's not actually there, right? Frenchie's in his head.
Yeah.
And I liked how what's the girl's name? His daughter.
His daughter's name?
Yeah, talks to him going, are you done pretending to have a conversation? Don't step on Frenchie's face. Was great. Anyway, so he's having a conversation with Frenchie. Daughter's going, what the hell's going on?
Beatrice.
You look over and a brick gets thrown through the window. Bushman and a whole shitload of bad guys, the Truth, and then all the Truth slaves are there to invite Moon Knight on a midnight ride on a boat.
Wait, time out. Did you say Frenchie's not alive?
Yeah, he's not alive.
No, 100% he's alive. You read the letters column? He's alive. It's just the last moment that Moon Knight saw him was when he was getting murdered in the last arc.
And I read the editor note.
But in the letters column, he even explains like
he is actually alive
he's
now?
back. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that was his memory of the last time he saw him.
Okay.
It's like in the top middle or something.
I assumed he was dead, and then you ripped off his face going, well, this is actually what I would have looked like. I don't look like a ghoul.
Right.
So anyway, we're on the boat, and he bites Bushman's hand. Bushman goes to cut Moon Knight's face. You watch Moon Knight bite that hand, gets the knife out, cuts himself free, and we get to one of the best looking pages of Moon Knight kicking the shit out of everybody.
Oh, so good. I like that. Bushman's whatever partner in crime was like, I told you this would fucking happen, and then like it does.
I know.
Gosh, he's like,
it's all your fault.
He was so obsessed with like trying to whatever.
Well, he wanted to hurt him, and all it did was bite him in the butt.
Yeah.
I was so impressed on what happened to Bushman's hand. Moon Knight cuts those fingers off.
He's like, sorry, I'm gonna have to do this, but it could have been a lot worse, and just severs them.
I like how Moon Knight tells him, he goes, I'm not one of those heroes that I don't have a problem killing you, so leave me alone.
Right.
Well, that's pretty. I get that. Then we get further into the boat, and Moon Knight talks to the Truth, and Truth is showing him this island. Well, not showing him the island, but you're getting to hear what Moon Knight wants to do, and that he's part of the problem. Then you get to the island, where the Sun God and his other half, Ra, which I realize they're the same person, but you get to see a Ra Khonshu conversation. And you get Moon Knight tells you, holy shit, Ra's right.
But what does Ra do to Khonshu?
Burn the shit out of him.
He burns the shit out of him. And that's like Ra's Khonshu's dad. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if that literally means in his subconscious that he's been murdered. It could probably not, but it was kind of crazy to see that. Like, he's like, whoa, Dad, like, what are you doing? And then it's
why are you burning me?
I love how like Khonshu's way more funny in this. What?
We've seen him be there's nothing about Frenchie in those letter columns. Somebody says, thanks for reading back Mark's personality's Frenchie. And that's all that's in there. Roz? How do you say it? Ra burns Khonshu to kind of be like, because he says, like, Khonshu's been wrong. If we're going to do this for peace, we need to get rid of Khonshu. And so you kind of see, because actually, if you remember in the Jeff Lemire's run, like he wasn't really the good guy. He was the bad guy, remember? So we kind of seen him be this kind of evil character for a half second. And so now Moon Knight's like, maybe Ra's right. Maybe I need to get rid of this. And so I'm interested to see where that goes. We have one more issue of this arc. The finale is the next one. The art's great, like you guys were talking about. The boat scene's incredible. Even the small moments with like that, like you said, that Frenchie part, comedy got it down. That art makes me laugh. Whole thing's great. I think that maybe this one a little bit for me, at least a little bit, was a little bit like kind of all over the place, but otherwise it's still good issue.
This was the 9. This was one of those books I went into it being this is gonna be a 10. It really wasn't. It was really good, but it wasn't as solid as the past issues had been.
You think maybe we got too overhyped for this week?
I think, unfortunately for me, the shark cover built it up way too much for me, and it really was. All these books to me were gems.
Maybe it was in the last issue. Here.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think. I think it was in the. I'll look at it later. But I give it an 8 because I thought, my gripe with it was a little wordy, and I agree with Marvin. It was a little bit all over the place. There wasn't like a direct line, and when we got to as soon as we started hitting that island, I thought it was great the rest of the issue.
Yeah.
Like everything, the fight scene was awesome.
I think from the boat on, it was good.
Oh, from the boat on, I enjoyed it. That first little bit, I was like, the conversation between Frenchie and Mark were fine, but I was like, this serves no purpose right now.
Right.
Other than don't step on Frenchie's face.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden we get to the boat. I'm surprised that no one beats him up. No one wants to beat the shit out of Mark. It's just like, let's just tie him up. And Mark lets him tie him up.
I think I was sick of Bushman, to be honest. He had a funny moment in this book, but like last issue even, I was like, man, I'm sick of seeing this guy. Like, he's not that funny. He's not a good villain. Like, let's just get to Raw and whatever.
I think we finally got, at least we'll see the last of Bushman for hopefully a good chunk of time. I mean, he just got his 2 fingers cut off on one hand. And Mark's told him, I will kill you.
What about that? Okay, there is one part that I thought was great too when he's talking to Truth and Truth makes him say his greatest fear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that part was great. Yeah,
that was amazing.
His greatest fear is that he has that recurring dream that he'll be walking through bodies in the street, and that he doesn't fear that he could have prevented that. He fears that maybe it's all like in his head, right?
Right.
And that it was never real to begin with, and like it never will be like everybody will die in his life, and it'll be too crazy to notice, kind of. So, by the way, let's see, Garrett, if you're right.
Jason.
Oh, you're right, Jason. Okay.
Boom.
Right about one thing today, and then not about that.
Fuck you. What was the other thing I wasn't right about?
The Moon Knight thing.
You don't know yet.
Okay, we look at the old issue.
So
it was an 8 for me. It was solid, but it wasn't the best Moon Knight issue. The last one was great.
I'm giving it a 9 for the boat fight and for the cover. So we got another Marvel book. Thanos number 16. I think it's the 4th part of Thanos Wins. Garrett, you binge read and caught up.
Yeah. A great story. It's a lot of fun. I like the apocalyptic, wasteland basically that has happened because of Thanos winning. But the part I love most about this is the Ghost Rider. Like
Frank Castle.
Right. Frank Castle. And I knew that was coming. I saw an article on it before I think you guys even read the comic. I read spoilers.
Holy shit.
But I was like, oh, that'd be cool if they explained how he became the
Ghost Rider.
The Black Hand now.
Oh, yeah.
Right. How he's gotten to this point. I was like, well, they probably won't touch on it. They'll just be like, yeah, he's been through a lot of fucked up shit. And literally, Donny Cates took me to a place I wanted to go that I knew, usually a writer's like, nah, we'll let you just use your imagination to what happened. He took us through that story. So much fun.
Yeah.
Frank Castle, absolute badass.
Frank Castle is one of the last people alive, along with the rest of the heroes in New York, fighting Thanos. And he goes down, getting hit by a rock from a building falling
Which makes
apart.
sense, because when you see him fighting, and you're like, how's he still alive?
Yeah.
And then he gets with the rock and dice, goes and meets Mephisto, makes a deal.
I love how he says, he goes like, I wish someone would just kill this purple guy.
I would do anything.
I would do anything.
To
kill this purple son of a bitch.
And the Mephisto's like, anything? You know what? And actually, hold on a second. Let's go back to Moon Knight for a second. There's no way in the Letter Pages last one they talked about that because they wouldn't have known to talk
Frenchie
about
was the cliffhanger.
I know, but I just read, there's nothing about it in there.
I read it somewhere.
I don't think it is.
But who do you leave his daughter with? Nobody?
That's the part of it, is that he's crazy because she's like, are you done with your pretend talk so that we can go save mom? That's supposed to be the humor of it. He's still leaving with Frenchie as like a babysitter, but
he's not there.
Nobody's actually there. Thanos, and I tweeted about it. Go on Twitter at Marvin_Saguero. Excuse me.
Holy shit.
My fucking last name. And I let the cat out of the bag. I guess we call it the. I tweeted about this issue. I couldn't hold back. This is, if you love how crazy comics can be, if you love like reading something and be like, it's wow, that's like, it's so insane, but in a good way. That's this whole comic. Like every single issue, there's something that I'm like it makes me laugh and how absurd it is.
Fine, I was wrong.
But absurd in a great way. Okay. You know what I mean? Like when you see in this issue when Silver Surfer, the Black Silver Surfer, the Black Matter Silver Surfer says when they're like, you know you can't beat me. Why did you wait so long to come here? He's like, I was buying time. Or I was doing work. He goes, doing work, doing what? And he gets becoming worthy. And you see him with the fucking Mjolnir hammer and he's ready to kick some ass. That moment is like, that's such a crazy concept. But in this whole world what we've set up so far, it works. The art sells it. And everything about this, like everything that they introduced that's happening, it's not like that, like this, like Thanos too, killing everybody. Like you just showed me, Alex, he's ripping apart Tony Stark. For me,
I looked at that for about, looked at that for like a minute, just going, that is disgusting. And I love it. Because in the first couple issues, they showed Thanos killing Celestials and all these kind of bigger guys. When we get this issue when he's killing Avengers, I'm like, yeah, he killed them all. Like, I don't even question, like, there's no way that they beat him when he's beating Celestials later on. So I say he's doing no hold barred because he just vaporizes Hulk's face.
Vaporizes Hulk's face, rips Tony Stark in half. Somebody else too, right? He kills in that issue.
You see him blast Peter Parker and Doc Strange. But they're not. I don't know how they die. They just get blown away.
Wait, was it Hulk that got blasted in the face?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So we see a different Hulk later then.
Hulk got smashed.
Because remember, Hulk was his dog.
Yeah.
So it's a different Hulk.
Eating all the people. Maybe he healed up from it.
Yeah, doesn't he have a healing factor? Just
Hulk? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
The angrier he gets,
because doesn't Wolverine cut him in half before?
Well, I don't know. Hulk rips him in half
Hulk
and threw him miles apart from each other.
But I mean, if the guy can take bullets, I remember you see his skull, the Hulk's face. But who could that be then? Is that what's his face?
Maelstrom?
Amadeus Cho?
No, I would assume if nothing else, would be how did you say his name? Maestro.
Yeah.
Maestro.
Because
that's Bruce Banner.
So you gotta live.
Different version, but yeah. And we've seen Dimension jumping in time travel, so it might be. He might go back in time to get Hulk just to make him his pet. So we'll see that later. But
Galactus in this issue was so awesome. Yeah. Like I haven't read a good book with like Galactus just not being this omnipotent, like just being in the sky. It was cool to see him like be like, I need help. Come on.
I say it wasn't even like he was strong. He'd gotten the shit kicked out of him by Thanos, shows up on Earth looking for all the heroes to help him. Only one person is left on this whole Earth. And it's Ghost Rider Frank Castle riding around looking for people to punish, and he can't because everyone's dead. And
Ghost Rider's been on Earth for millions of years, and he basically went insane because there's nobody, nothing to do. And that's why now he's so crazy. Like, that's the explanation how he's so crazy. I'm like, yeah, if you're alone for that long amount of time, you're going to be nuts. Like, you don't know how to do it anymore.
I love real right now?
I love when that line's going on, like all these like geckos are like burning skull. I'm like, there were some of your friends. You fucking killed them.
Really great. And I think what I said last issue holds up, Alex. I don't know if you agree. Every issue of this, I don't know if there's a way, but it's happening. Every issue gets better.
This is a book that surprises me. That yes, every issue progressively gets better and just adds to the story. And
this was my favorite of all four.
I love the So when he turns into Ghost Rider, it's Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. Almost like here's the title. Then when you get to was it Ghost Rider, Herald of Galactus? Awesome. And they change, letters change, and it's this big prestigious thing for him to get up. Great, I'm going to call it an upgrade. Gets a new bike, gets a new outfit, and holy crap, does Galactus go down like a bitch when Thanos blows his face off, just leaving his helmet that's left.
And then Ghost Rider becomes the
black right hand of Mad King Thanos.
Do you guys like how, like, you couldn't tell obviously at first, but like Ghost Rider's costume is like a futurized version of his Punisher costume? Like those are the eyes. But like when you read in issue 13, you don't even notice that. You're just like, oh, it's just Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I just assumed it was Ghost Rider outfit.
Right.
God, what issue is it? Issue 14 where Thanos is looking at his face at the pennant stare and is enjoying it.
Right.
I'm going to reread this thing again when it all comes out.
But I'm bummed because this one's probably going to end after this arc, obviously.
I assume so.
Well, it's not listed, so unless they're taking a break.
The next issue's not this listed?
No, May, and it may get stopped.
I'm assuming next issue is the end of this.
Oh, so it would be the next one, yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Well, that's only 5. You think they'd do 6?
Unless there's one coming in 2 weeks. Is there 2 weeks or
no? Well,
it's once a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll find out. But
March, April, maybe beginning of May. Oh no, yeah, we got March and April. That's 5, 6. Learn how to count.
It is March.
It's 28th.
Oh, you're right. That was February issue, so we'll have 2 more.
See, Garrett gets right about something.
We'll have a minimum of 2 more at least.
Hopefully. Solid 10 out of 10 for me.
Yes, me too. That's my pick this week.
Yes. I laughed and enjoyed this book far more than I should have.
I don't care that it's not like Johnny Blaze. And I know there's a Ghost Rider book coming out. I need Ghost Rider in my life.
The Cosmic Ghost Rider coming from Donny Cates.
And he's so funny. He's hilarious.
Well, there's that part that I was reading too. Is this real? Sometimes I get, a little confused. He just seems like a Deadpool, but funnier for me.
Yeah.
That it's Frank Castle, no fun, doesn't smile, has turned crazy.
When I was reading this issue, there's something that I kept thinking about and trying to figure out was that, yes, I know we're talking a lot about the story, but Jeff Shaw's art's amazing.
Oh, so good.
The colors. Who's the colorist in that? Does Jeff do his own colors?
Fabella. I'll check.
Great art. The art
Antonia
is
Fabella.
Yeah, the art is amazing, and it sells Donny Cates' writing. So if Donny Cates was writing this, but if you can't sell to me visually, it's so big and absurd. If you can't sell to me visually, it would fall flat a little bit with the writing. It seemed a little too big for what it's showing me. But when you show me, like you said, that Galactus panel, when you show me his face getting blown off and it seems so epic in that moment, then I buy really how big this is.
Yeah.
I would love to see a director's cut of at least, I don't know, if they could do part of the trade, for this whole series. Because imagine trying to pitch this right after Jeff Lemire's run. I'd be like, whoa, buddy.
I think it's a nice 360 though, is when you have Thanos dying in Jeff Lemire's run, and then you get to see what Thanos would be like if he had won and beaten everybody.
Yeah.
When I was reading the beginning of this book, I also did think Donny Cates is doing a great job writing this. That beginning part, the first 2 or 3 pages, the way it's set up, being introducing the story of Ghost Rider, can tell you a story about how a man had made a deal with 3 devils, and all that. I was like, this is so great,
a legend.
I don't know, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how otherwise. If there was any other way to tell that story, that's the way you tell it. And everything about it was just right spot on.
Thanos has solidified Donny Cates as a writer that when he puts something out, I am willing to get it and wanting to get it because he's going to write Venom here in the next couple months. I'm on board for that.
Just before we end this Thanos talk, a little update about something we were speculating. I actually found information. On the April solicits. Let me read you this and see what you think. This does sound like it's ending. The last line of the solicit of number 18. How will the fantastic saga of Thanos, King Thanos, and Cosmic Ghost Rider end? I think it's ending. But we also get an annual that month, which is it's the all-new Cosmic Ghost Rider. Let the spirit of vengeance be your guide and a tour through the worst of the worst, as he reveals the most hideous deed ever perpetrated by the Mad Titan. So I think that's going to be an issue of showing all this whole thing, how his whole story. So I think it really is going to end. So that'll be fine. It's a nice little thing.
Enjoyable little book to get.
It's better to end and be great than to keep going and then have someone else take over.
Yep.
So Next, we got Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, number 39, written by Robert Venditti, with art by Rafa Sandoval and inks by by Tumu More. I will learn how to say that guy's name. It's awesome. So this is the third part of the Zod storyline. Kyle had, in the last, he's just gotten to Mogo, because Oa doesn't exist anymore. Sorry, spoilers.
The new Oa.
Right, basically.
Just your face. New Oa.
He gets there and explains that Hal gave his ring
willed
up for
his
him.
ring onto
willed
him.
his ring onto through an eradicator to Kyle to get him off planet because he was basically dying from
lacerations, broken ribs, got the shit kicked out of him,
crap beat out of him. And so this issue we get a lot of just Hal being Hal and being that kind of pricky thorn in your side that you're like, God, I just want to kill this asshole.
The man with no fear. He doesn't have powers, but yet he's still standing up to Zod. He doesn't fear anything. That's the reason why he has great will. I love in this issue the humor of Kyle having Hal Jordan basically infused in him, and he's like, "What the hell is all this cheesy macho stuff?" He's like, "What does he say? A pilot's a pilot. No, a pilot is nothing without his plane. I don't know.
You can't take the pilot out of the fighter plane, but you can't. Or you can take. He goes, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I can't even say it.
You can't take the pilot. You can take the pilot out of the fighter plane, but you can't take the fighter plane out of the pilot." And he's like, "What does that make sense?" But he's ready. He's amped up to go. This guy's basically high on will right now, and he's ready, amped up to go. John Stewart goes to the Guardians because he said, "Hey, you messed up before, but I'm going to give you a second chance to go through a chain of command. Let's go save Hal." And they're like, let's think about the implications here.
Yeah,
let's think about this from a legal basis.
Let's waste your time.
Do we have legal bounds to go save him? Zod was sentenced to the Phantom Zone by a power that does not exist anymore. It's not our jurisdiction. They're going through all this red tape. John Stewart's like, I don't it feels like the old days. He leaves and then Guy Gardner got everybody up together and said, let's go save Hal. And he sees him fly away in the background. It's probably my favorite panel of this whole issue is John Stewart saying, "What took you so long?" And he's just smiling because he will follow chain command, but he loves if somebody else he won't he wouldn't have got them together and went like that. But obviously, Guy's he doesn't give a shit,
right?
But he's all for don't leave a man behind.
Yeah,
he's a Marine. So
and I don't care that it was only 4 pages, but thank God for bringing Kilowog back. Where's he been? You get that guy back in this book more.
Charging up.
I tell you what, this is one of those series that when they had the Green Lantern Corps and Sinestro Corps together, I really loved that combination. And they worked well as a team. They were a really good team, and you got all the other Green Lanterns to come together. We've had a lot less Green Lantern Corps and just having Green Lantern 4.
Oh,
4. See what I did that number. It was good to see everybody come together and to pull together so they can go beat Zod up and his family as a team to go get their family back. So I was happy with this issue.
Well, I like how Zod kind of explains himself to Hal, and what his ambitions are for this planet. And Hal's like, "Hey, I get you, man. I've had to go through the same thing, but you know what? I didn't kill people to get where I am." No. So he's like, "We're still coming for you."
I like how
bad choice.
I like how Zod says Lantern Jordan, where he doesn't call him Hal. He shows respect, going, "This is your title. I'll give it to you." I hope next issue is just. I'm pretty sure we balls to the wall action.
Oh, 100%. When you can see down here. We don't leave without Hal. Those are, and then
it's the conclusion to the arc. Yeah. Yep. So they, it was a really great issue. I actually do like Raphael more than Ethan.
Yeah.
His art.
Best art for this series.
His paneling and his pacing of the story and everything, even the coloring by Tamar. Great. I love the way the book looks. It feels energetic. It feels quicker pace. Something about Ethan's feels a little slower. So the last issue,
scratchy too much.
Yeah.
Texture.
Something about it that really doesn't fit how this book's especially this arc's trying to go. So when we got the first one was Raphael, and then now this one is, I just felt it felt better those first 2 issues ago, and then this one.
I don't know how I feel about the Guardians. I get that the whole point of this.
They've always been for years and years and years in Green Lantern. The only reason they fucking exist, they're always the assholes who stop them from doing shit. They're always the people who exists to be like, you guys can't do this, so that the villains can kind of get ahead. Because I think when you got a core that big, like,
you need like a checks and balances.
well, they're trying to tell you like these guys are cops, right? And cops have laws they have to follow. They have rules and regulations, and those are the rules and regulations. And yes, you like to see that the cop can go out there and stop the bad guy. You know, have to go through due process and all this stuff. Like, I mean, you like to see that, but also like that exists for a reason, so that the cops don't abuse their powers. The only difference in this kind of world is that the Green Lanterns, I guess no, because we have Sinestro once did abuse his power, and that's why he became bad. So they exist for, but I think a lot of people would just write them as being like, oh, I need somebody that will be the, you know, conflict in the story. We have a villain, but also we need kind of like that thing that'll stop our heroes to kind of give the villain the edge for a little bit. And then eventually though, Guardians will be like, okay, go take care of it. So that's always what they've been. Unless you get, I think Jeff Johns found the perfect way to deal with them. He had a couple Guardians that were like, I don't think this is right. So they would help the Lanterns out and stuff like that. So it depends on who's writing them.
Well, I know there was an arc that we missed that most of them went bad, basically, and were conspiring against the Green Lanterns.
Yeah, that was Venditti's 52 stuff. So.
Right.
See, I think what bugs me is that the Green Lanterns are the ones who saved the Guardians' last arc.
Yeah.
From getting from getting killed, not dead. That was a wrong sentence. And now they're going, well, I don't know. That's kind of iffy.
You know what?
Even though Green Lanterns were have the jurisdiction to be by Krypton, because that's what right. Zod's all pissed off about. So what they're saying is a lie, hypocrisy. You're saying, well, you guys really shouldn't be doing that. That's not our jurisdiction. Isn't the whole universe their jurisdiction?
Boom.
So I'm telling you right now, Stuart, go beat the shit out of all of them and throw them in those science cells.
Well, when that the first part of the story opens up, he's like, I quit. I'm not going to be Green Lantern anymore if you guys are leading us. And then like, he's like, okay, we'll give it a try. And I was just like, no, like what they did, I get like they have been a resource, but that's what they should be from now on. They should not be your top link in your chain of command. They should be like a resource that you can use. And if they were so focused on generating goodwill, they shouldn't be right. Well, we're back, so we're back on top, right?
Yep.
You know, they if you want to take understand their spot in the story, if you think back to any kind of like cop drama or anything like that,
well, I think
they're always like the mayor or the commissioner that's like, hey, you can't do that. And sometimes you find out they're corrupt and they're actually working against them. Mm. Sometimes you find out that when you get to the point, let's talk about Lethal Weapon at the end with like, oh no, let them fight. They'll get to a point where they're like, oh no, yeah, go ahead and we'll forget about the rules and regulations for a second. So they're always that kind of. I think that's how people write them. And I do agree they are the most annoying part of Green Lantern. They've always been though. Like I don't think anybody just figured out exactly how to use them without them being annoying. I've also felt that they were annoying.
Well, I haven't read a lot of Green Lantern stuff, but them being back is just, to me, I don't care for them. I know there's probably some people that are like, man, I can't wait for the Guardians to come back because they're just, I love the friction that they cause. And you're saying that, what was the thing that you were saying about them and Jon Stewart wanted to leave? Oh, and that they're back up on top.
Yeah.
I think he's the one who's given them the chance. Everyone's like, screw them. But he's like, he's a military man. I got to run. They own the rights to do this. I'll let them be who they are. But once they step over the line, we'll shut them down. So I'm hoping that the next arc is going to be, we're shutting the Guardians down.
It's probably going to be a little bit longer than that.
Next issue. Get rid of them again.
Yeah, save them and then kill you.
I think you'll get some of their downfall when Sinestro gets back. So that's usually
hopefully, if we're lucky, Sinestro will kill them all.
He knows that those guys are like the people you got to go for first, so he'll kill them.
When John says, our last thing, when he says, "I sure do miss the old days," is that when he was like not the leader of the Corps and like he was his own Green Lantern kind of thing?
I think he just means when they weren't around.
Oh, okay. so like recently.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, it was good though. Like you guys said, Zod's involvement didn't really. I didn't even feel like it was rehash anything. I actually felt pretty fresh.
I give it a 9.
Yeah, it was a 9 for me. I like the art a lot.
8.
It was fun. If anything, it was fun. Yeah. Which actually, a lot of these books this week were really fun. So we had Thanos, number 19.
Nope, 16.
16. Turn that around. Green Hal Jordan is Green Lantern Corps, like we just talked about, number 39. Moon Knight, number 192. I thought that was pretty fun, too. Royal City, number 10. Obviously hilarious. No, not good. I mean, very depressing.
Not good.
I think we were right, though. It was pretty depressing, at least for me.
Yeah. I don't have a heart, so I didn't feel depressed.
Terrific's number 1 and Saga number 49. That also was depressing.
Yes.
So, some good books this week. Some other great books that we didn't talk about the show also came out this week. So go to your local comic shop, pick up your comic books, and catch up just like I got to catch up. Do 6 a days. That's what they do? Like football? 2 a days.
2 a days. So it's called. They don't do 6 a days.
No, I'm doing 6
We're
a days. So. SuperCon 2018, Return of the Con, September 28th, 29th, and 30th. Tickets on sale at supercon.com. Alex, we're going to be there doing a show, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to be there on the 28th doing a live show for everyone. What's it going to be called? Wednesday Comics After Dark.
And not only us are going to be there, a lot of people are going to be there. Phil Hester, right, Garrett?
Yes, Phil Hester, the current artist of Batman Beyond. He's done other projects like Shipwreck. He's done some Swamp Thing that you may or may not have seen, and some Holland Files that came out recently.
Not only Phil, Science Steve, Shea Fontana, Tony Fleece, Travis Nye, Midwest All Pro doing a show the 28th. They'll be doing a show that night. That's the main attraction that night. Jill Thompson, Ryan Cody, John Allen, and more. Tom Wynn. Going to be at supercon.com. Make sure there's a lot going on that weekend. I would say, if I am going to tell you any kind of advice, buy that weekend pass. You won't regret it. You got MAP concert that night also. You got Wednesday Comics After Dark. And then you got a whole weekend of stuff to do, people to see. Supercon.com for more information. And welcome back. You're here with Comic Book Genie Mikey. Mikey, how you doing?
Hey guys, doing real well. Thanks for having me on.
We'll talk about later. Going to be at DayCon March 10th at the Western Mall in Sioux Falls, drawing up some drawings.
Yep, a day and a week from today. And yeah, we're going to be doing drawings and have drawings ready.
Yeah, there's going to be, if you go to supercon.com, more information about it. We'll talk about that later. We're here with Comic Book Genie. We're going to learn about a little bit about how he got started.
Sure.
And actually, the first thing we talk about when we interview anybody in this show
hit me.
is how did you first get into comics? Like, what was the catalyst to be like, oh, I like comic books?
Well, that story, I'm afraid, is a little boring, so I'll wrap it up real quick. First comic book store, my family, we were stationed in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I had a day with my dad, and we were traveling back for, I think it was like a free day for like Christmas break or something like that. So I got to go to a comic book store to get some stuff to help me not be bored on the plane ride.
Oh, there you go.
And picked up some classics like 5 Goes West and Ghostbusters. And a random Spider-Man 2099. And then kind of trailed off as I got a little bit older, got into more like different types of art, and didn't really keep in the comic book scene until I was about 21. Had a weird dead-end job, picked up Watchmen, and that changed my life in great ways.
Yeah.
The combination of the colors, the art, the dialogue, I feel like that is just a jumping off point for everybody. And then ever since then, it's been back to researching, honoring, and getting a better feel of the greats and how this whole process works, because it's not as easy as people think.
No.
I think it's oversimplified when people just say it's comic books. Like,
there's definitely a lot more to it. Like when you start reading books, there's like doing comics the DC way by Danny O'Neill. When you start reading that, and you see like there's different styles of writing, different styles of like drawing. There's the Marvel way where they used to like come together for a concept, like you get a story together and then send off the artist. The artist basically would be the storyteller, and then later the writer would just write in dialogue. That's a very different style than doing like a movie script. So you're right. Like people are like, oh, that's just comic books. People put pictures and words on it. No, it's more than that. And actually, I do think, and I think we talked about it on this show, movies, yes, they're very hard to, but they're hard to do because it's hard to get the money to do what you visualize. And it's hard to get that out there. Books are very hard to do because you have to learn how to like describe something and make sure that when I write something, Garrett understands the same thing that Alex understands, but also understand that Garrett's going to think of a different person, even though I describe them the same way, they'll look different in their heads. Comic books, you have the benefit of doing both. You can do anything you want to, but also it's more directed. So I think actually that's a very tricky thing to do. Be like, use your imagination, because there's a lot of stuff happens between panels, but also be like, I actually am showing you what they look like. I am showing you what you need to see, but also you got to fill in a lot of gaps, I think, too. So I think, it's very difficult. And I think there's not a lot. There's some, but a lot of the learning how to do it is, like you said, going back and reading those classics.
Well, that's why it's not a one-man job either, though.
Yeah.
We were talking about before this, just getting to know Mikey over here. I didn't know if I was going to call him Comic Genie, whatever, but...
Call me whatever you want.
Whatever I want. All right, perfect. But, there are so many components going into a story, and art is such a crucial part of it, with combination of writing, and it's really, like, if one person's not, like, adding to the whole, it can all just kind of fall apart. So, yeah, that's huge that you're really into that.
To go right off that, I think you're extremely right. There's what's the term for when you're watching like a movie and like there's something with like the graphics and it just takes you out? What is that?
Uncanny Valley?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that is really apparent in comic books.
Yeah, it is definitely.
The dialogue's off, the art's off, even the coloring or the sequencing of things is off.
Yeah. We talk about it a lot in that show and on this show, that when you're reading something, sometimes it'll be somebody all of a sudden has dead eyes in the picture and you're like, oh, that took me out, and I realized it's a comic book. Or you'll be reading something, and this happens a lot when people write kids. And I'm like, no kid talks like that. Now I'm also thinking of an old man trying to figure out how kids talk, and he's writing and be like, oh, he just like looked up what the slang was in these days and filled in like all their talk is all slang, but it's not slang how kids use it. It's just putting it out there. Yeah. And you're right. Those moments really do take you out, and you're like, but going back to Watchmen, because you brought it up, it was one of the first ones I read too, and it really got me into it. And I say in the show a lot that I don't think it should be one of your first comics, but I'm learning more and more that people like that's the one they get into.
I would agree with you at a certain age. I think if
I think
you're
that's it too.
like I apologize to all 16ers and below, but I think there's like that is maybe like for me I would judge as a dividing point. Like
how old did you say you were?
21. Yeah. So like I was already be able to go to the bar.
Yeah, I was 21 too.
So it hit me a little bit differently. I don't think I would have appreciated it as much if I was like 12, maybe 15, 16. I don't know if that would be.
I think if you're too young, you're going to miss things. There's things that are subtleties that as an adult you understand better. I think I was 22 when you guys got it for me at Free Comic Book Day, and I read it. It's not a child book. That's a book that you need to go in well aware of what you're going to be getting into.
And I think the mixing of art styles and like the prose, you get prose in there of the chapter books, and then you have the actual art, and then you have the Black Freighter stuff in there. Like the ability to jump between all those two and make them work and flow together. I think you really do need to be able to appreciate that. Because I think if you're younger, you think it's interrupting. Like if you're younger, you're like, what's this in here for? I don't want to read this. But when you're older, you understand they all fall into each other. They all build on each other. The Dark Freighter stuff is commenting on the Black Freighter stuff is commenting on the Watchmen stuff. The book part of it, who is that? Alan Moore? The first Owlman?
Oh,
who's that about?
His name?
Hollis Mason. Hollis Mason. That stuff is commenting on how they got there, like the past stuff, and like what led them to where we're seeing now. And like, so that's when you read that, and especially when you're like, I read it about once a year. Every time it's like, this is something I've never seen before in this. Like this, now this is setting up, because I know what happens at the end. It's setting up stuff going along, and then you read stuff in that prose, and you're like, oh, I didn't like that. It's so great on a level where you're like, this, and every step, Alan Moore made sure that he was careful and perfect about making sure that nothing was wasted in all these pages. That it all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Alan Moore. We appreciate you tremendously in the now and forever.
And now DC taking all this work and redoing it. So
basically pissing all over.
I would love to work with DC, but shame on you, DC, for all of that nonsense. But let's not get in. That's not. I don't know here or there. Probably the
here's the
details.
I talk about this all the time in the show. I think it's okay they do. Yes, Watchmen can live on its own, and Alan Moore is great for doing that. But I mean, it is technically not his. Like it's DC's thing. But like them redoing all this stuff they did before Watchmen, now they're Doomsday Clock. I can either choose not to read that, and then does it exist? Because what only exists is what you read. Like, yes, it can come out there, but it's not. They're not literally going out there and burning Watchmen copies.
Right.
So, like, I cannot read that, and Watchmen still exists. It's fine. or I can go out and read that and see if it fits, and I can take things I'd like to take out of it, and that's it. So
to go right off that that point, I feel like Star Wars right now is
same thing.
Okay, like everything that happens now, however upsetting or awesome, I feel it's like I can always go back to when I was a little kid and the feeling I got from watching Empire Strikes Back, like that's like, you know, cut my arm off. I've still got the, you know, the joy that I got out of that movie.
Or even Return of the Jedi, where like it's all happily ever after. They're all hanging around the bonfire, and you're like, okay, they all lived happily ever after. Instead of the shit that we're getting now.
Yup.
I recently watched those Ewok movies.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if have you went back and watched those.
I
love the TV movies.
The TV show.
Like they were like 2 movies, right? They were TV movies.
TV specials, yeah.
Yeah, TV specials. Oh yeah.
There's also
some cool ideas in there, but it's just like,
were they in line with the Christmas special?
No, Christmas special will take the cake always.
Hey, we were talking about before the show a perfect example of somebody being able to do stuff and nobody telling you that doesn't work is when George Lucas, everybody like, oh yeah, do whatever you want with that's your thing. And then he started doing so much, and it's like, oh, no. Those movies worked because people came in and kind of helped him craft his idea. And then when he started doing the prequels and doing those specials, you can kind of see with those specials where he indulges himself too much.
Let's go right into Jack Kirby then.
Yeah.
Because I heard that there's like this rumor of him years before Star Wars sitting down with George Lucas and going over New Gods.
Yeah.
And the Source and the Force, everything being like this, the hero, his dad is, you know, the evil guy. Yeah. Like there's just all these weird things. So
that Hidden Fortress is the same kind of plot.
Right. And then, is that the Japanese film?
Yeah, Kurosawa film.
Okay, cool.
It's the same kind of plot. You have a lot of samurai influences. So that might also be another perfect example. I mean, besides the Jack Kirby thing, that might be direct stealing of his work. But we were talking about like when you take things and make it your own, Hidden Fortress and that samurai influence, and then just like old kind of like sci-fi like serials that used to come out. Like he took all that and made it like something else, if we're to believe that narrative. And so like if you go from that, then like creating an art might be just remixing what people have done in the past.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that the stuff that we love is products of that.
Yeah.
And so therefore, like, you know, like the any way you can be creative, if you have a different way to tell that story and it's good, like, people are going to eat it up. So
right, because
like, I guess you could parallel that with like Black Hammer. I don't know if you read anything about Black Hammer comic.
No.
So basically,
we got to get into this because I got to get you guys. I want to have a couple questions for you. So when you're ready, let's talk serious about comics. Okay.
But like Jeff Lemire is writing the Black Hammer universe, and right now it's basically a parallel to the DC and Marvel universe, but it's all characters he created with the help of Dave Stewart and David Rubin. But that's kind of what it is. It's like they're taking the bare bones of what we expect from like the big two and making it its own thing. And I think that's what you can do nowadays. You can make brain children, basically. And if you thought something was better, you just have to put your own originality into it. You can't just steal it.
Well, I think a lot of that comes from how many stories are there really, right? They're the basic concept. Exactly. You break them down to the bones. How many stories are there really? What makes a story great, and we talk about this all the time in the show, is how is this commenting on things now? Because stories can be, you can get, the Three Little Pigs from back in the day, and you can remake that now, but like, how's it different now? Like, what are you doing? Like you said, what's the twist? What's the remix on it? And also, what's your stamp on it? Like, how's this Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer, and how is it if Alex wrote it, Alex's Black Hammer? Like, is there a difference? Like, is it the same thing? Or are you just being so plain and telling the story that there's no twist? That's Jeff Lemire. Like, Jeff Lemire can only do this book. Alan Moore. Is it Alan Moore's Watchmen? Is that Alan Moore's Watchmen? Yes. You can certainly read that and be like, that's Alan Moore. Nobody else could write that book. The way he wrote it. The way it's written, everything, the way George Lucas and doing, if we go to Empire, and you got Kasdan who came in and directed that movie. Like, George Lucas isn't making that. That feels way different than You Hope. Because people even comment, be like, whoa, this is way darker. Yeah, it's Kasdan. And you move forward, and when you get J.J. Abrams doing Force Awakens, that is definitely J.J. Abrams' movie. And that's what makes that great. Yeah, people say it's kind of like New Hope, but it's J.J. Abrams' New Hope. And that's what, for me at least, makes it okay, because it's his stamp on it. How did he remix that? How do you remix that story? And I think that's what storytelling is, especially now. I mean, back in the caveman days, you can draw an elephant attacking people, and that's the first time that's been done on the wall. But these days, that story's been told a million times, somebody attacking somebody else, and a monster attacking people. What's your twist on it? I think that's storytelling today is all remixing and figuring out how's this, Mikey's story, how's this Marvin's story. And then I think that's a big appreciation of it. When I read something, Jeff Lemire's Royal City, I go, this is Jeff Lemire's story. It's really personal about him. And I appreciate it more being like, this guy's opening up, being very honest about his story. And I appreciate it more. Yes, it's a story about, growing up in a town where he can't leave. How many times has that story been told? But this is Jeff Lemire's story, and this is his twist on it. I think that's the great thing about storytelling.
I like where this has gone. Now I'm going to hit you guys with some questions. I want to hear each one of y'all's opinions on this. Okay. What would you rather read then? Would you rather read a person's interpretation of the world or someone's story, right, of what they think? I know these are two weird concepts to kind of pull apart, right? But like through that narrative, right, we're getting him being open.
Yeah.
Right? What about the other version where it's just like a complete, I feel like Watchmen is more of like a complete reflection of things about society and not so much about Alan Moore.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's.
So which one would you rather think, because that's a tough one for me. I don't know if I have a.
Oh, geez. I was like
is there, I don't even know if you have examples. I don't know.
I got some
for that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like when it comes to the societal kind of things where you're trying to talk about what's happening on currently, I think that is a great way to I can think of a comic book right now. I mean, it's called Days of Hate right now by Alscott. It's basically a comic about is it 5 years into the future?
2025.
2020, whatever. One of those years.
Just two?
I don't care. In the future, about where we are now and how it's going to lead to what potentially America is going to be for us. Mm-hmm. So those kind of things, it's kind of like what you're trying to tell in your point of your story. So that point of that story is we want to address what's currently happening, how it could be our downfall potentially or change everything that we know. Now, if you're trying to generate a story where you want to show like an emotion or show a feeling, then I think it definitely needs to be more personable. So like Watchmen, I bet that was more about, at the time, about like the government and like all the politics. I mean, there's a lot of Vietnam in there.
Here you go, V for Vendetta.
Right.
That's exactly. More of like a societal take, right? That's not a personal.
Well, I think a lot of those things, if you think, let's say, Black Panther just came out recently. We just all talked about, we saw it, right? It comments on society and how people of African descent are treated in today's society differently. People in Wakanda, obviously, they're living the good life, and everybody else, like we see Killmonger is in Oakland, and he's saying our people all over the world are dying and being, held down, and we could be taking care of that. It's a comment on today's society about everything going on right now. So it really is a story about society. However, also I think that the director Ryan Coogler and the writer, co-writer, is also a story about like he knows of that life because he grew up in that life, and so it's comment on what he thinks of this society. Also, like it's from his point of view, his perspective, but it's reflecting society, but also his perspective. So if we go back to Watchmen. Yes, it's a lot about society at the time. Nixon's in it and stuff like that. But I guarantee you, Alan Moore there's certain characters that for Alan Moore, that's his viewpoint. That's his take on it. And that's the hero of this story. Because he wants you to know this is society. So I'm commenting on society, but this is what would happen if I was this guy in this story. And so, and there's a lot of things in that story in V for Vendetta. Yes, it's a story about society, but there's certain characters in there that that he's like, oh, that's the hero. The hero's going to do what should happen, what I want to happen. In Days of Hate, I'm sure that's going to happen too. Like the heroes are fighting against this hatred, this regime, this divide. And yes, there's a lot and it's commenting on the divide between people in this day and age and where we're going to be going. Yes, but the hero is that person's point of view and like where we're going to go with that.
And I guess you're right, because I forgot about that storyline that there is a heroine in that, I mean, in her own eyes, that's dealing with the results of a failed relationship that led her into this kind of.
Right? Because you create what you know.
Well, I think in most books,
like
that's the whole point, is that you're, instead of being able to talk about it with a group of people, you got to write about it. You got to tell where you come from, how you relate to this. The hero for me in Watchmen is honestly probably the comedian. But that's my cynical part of my life, is that, hell, he's the one who's like, everybody's a shithole. This is a shithole. I got to stop these people. Sorry, I shouldn't be swearing so much.
It's all a joke.
But that's the thing, is that everybody, yes. Maybe that's the wrong way to do it, but who's the other hero? It could be...
For me, it's Owlman, right?
Yeah.
He tries to do the best he can, and he's got to do as much as he can to try to... Because there's a point in the story, right, where he gives up. He's not a hero anymore because he's seen how bad the world's gotten. But then he kind of gets into it and says, yes, we need to try to save the world. It doesn't matter if we're successful or not. It's the attempt which makes you a hero. And at the end of the story, even though he fails again, for him, at least, he's like, it's better that he would have tried. And it's actually a great thing about that book. They fail in the end, but however, like, he was the hero of that story still. Like, he tried to make it stop. Sometimes the world isn't like that. And that's what the great thing about the book is. Sometimes the world, the world isn't going to be like, oh, yeah, they save the day in the end. It doesn't happen. But what's great about him and that character, what I take anyways, is that he tried at least. He tried. He went there knowing that he's just, a regular dude and he's going against an unknown force. He doesn't know what's happening. He knows there's nukes or something's going to go on that's going to destroy the world. Dr. Manhattan's probably a bad guy. He doesn't know what's going on. But he's still going to go up there and try, possibly die, because that's the right thing to do. And that's why he's the hero of that story for me.
What about Rorschach?
I say Rorschach
He literally gets exploded for believing what he does.
See, and the reason why I'm going to say...
that book in general is gold.
Opened up.
Yeah.
For the fact that every character's got their own grievance.
That's right.
Silk Spectre's trying to live up to what her mother was and is never going to be that woman. She was someone different, lives in a different time, different experiences, but she still gets compared to her mom.
Right.
So...
The thing I was going to say, and actually adds to your point about it is a communist society, but Alan Moore definitely does have a perspective in the way he's kind of twisting the story. Is that he said in interviews in since that book came out and Rorschach is like the popular character, people are like, oh yeah, he's cool. He said in interviews post that like that character's not supposed to be cool. He's not supposed to be even a good guy. He's supposed to show you that there's supposed to be some rules and regulations, like people can't just go out and kill people and like try to, even though justice needs to be served. You can't just go out and like kill people because you want it to stop. There's some things you got to be a hero. You can't just be a vigilante like that.
Did you guys see that interview Finding Steve Ditko, or the documentary Finding Steve Ditko?
No, I heard of it though.
Watch there's a funny part in there where Steve Ditko takes something like Alan Moore heard that Steve Ditko thought that they asked him about Rorschach and he's like, oh yeah, that's Mr. A. I don't know. Do you guys know Steve Ditko's Mr. A?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then like the black and white card, right? Is that Mr. A, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no in between. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like
right. There's
notorious for being like a homebody, like not leaving his house and being this guy who, for a great amount of time too, like him and Stan Lee didn't like each other so much because he is that kind of black and white that they would draw and write Spider-Man and never talk to each other.
Right.
So that book came out for years, and they never collaborated on how that book was going. And so,
I feel like that goes right into this, how art and work flows.
Yeah,
like how we might not have Rorschach if Alan Moore didn't come across Steve Ditko.
Yeah, and that's
how it just keeps growing. Like we just keep getting better and better stuff. Like we get a lot of crap too. Like don't get me wrong. Like. I probably have a lot of crap, and I'm sorry. Like, there's probably a lot of crappy art that's just like, no, but you got to just keep on pushing through it, right? So
yeah, and that's part of it, right? Because
but you got to grow. I mean, you got to start.
You have to.
Not everything can be pure gold. You have to have some things. That's like this was my early years when I was struggling. I couldn't think of the right idea. The lines weren't what I wanted. Then you find the line. You find where your pen meets paper, and you're just like, this is gold. This is where I'm headed towards.
I'm going to stop you there. I've had so much luck in the last couple of years of stuff I thought was complete crap. And people are like, oh, I love that.
Awesome.
And then the stuff that you just like, you put your heart and soul into.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's okay. All right.
But again, people have different tastes, and that's always a factor too. But I mean, if what you're proud of at the end of the day, or like in your story, like Jeff Lemire's story, Tom King's story, Alan Moore's story, for them, I think it's, hey, I wanted to tell this story. I told it. the rest of the world can eat it however they want it, you know.
I think
I served it to you.
Yep.
You really have to get to, and like to Alex's point where he says that when you're going to be a creator, you should really understand that some things are not going to be great. I think the hard part about that is anytime you create anything, right? And like, you know, we're doing this podcast, you're doing your art, you're putting yourself out there and becoming vulnerable to tell people, hey, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah.
Hey, what's your take on this? And you can't be like, oh no, you only can like this, especially in this day and age with the internet. Right.
Exactly.
They're going to tell you what they think. And I was saying to when John Boylan was on before we started recording, is like the more and more popular you get, the more famous you get, all you're asking for is more opinions.
Yes.
Like, you know, Star Wars, they're asking for like 1 billion people to be like, hey, what do you think of this movie?
Right.
So I think a lot of that is people have a hard time putting themselves out there and like starting, because it's a lot being like, okay, taking the shield down, I'm going to open up my chest. Here's my heart. What do you think? You're going to stab me or you're not going to stab me? Like, and then, sometimes it's not even that. Like, you really have to become, and I think we have, especially, and I'm sure you have to understand when somebody's giving you criticism. We were talking about criticism before the show too. Criticism because they wish it was better and they wish like they're trying to help you out, versus giving you criticism because they just want to like
be a dick.
They want to crap on something because for a number of reasons.
I love this dude. Yeah, I starting this YouTube thing.
Yeah,
these 5-minute fiasco videos has been going through that, like openly asking, like, please give it to me raw.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you think about it?
Don't beat around the bush. Like, I want your first thoughts. Like, I don't want the filtered thoughts.
And you've gone through an evolution on that too. Like,
and I'm videos behind. Sorry, everyone that's been waiting for more videos. We're gonna have them coming through the pipeline as soon as possible. Make a quick shout out to my niece Eastlyn. Are you guys gonna post this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. You're on Eastlyn's YouTube. So yeah, we're gonna hopefully get some my nieces on. Hopefully that's the idea. Maybe get them some genie lamps that they can pop their head out of and
because that's the thing, right? When you first started, it was just you up there, and you're like kind of drawing in real time, right?
I hope you guys can kind of see like how quick I was like, oh, that's wrong, and then just getting all these different opinions, like, oh yeah, you know. And then, the mic and lighting is the one I'm working on right now. It's kind of.
And then now, even like when you're drawing, you're telling them what you're using. It's kind of like a teaching thing.
Like, among the million videos of people doing that, it's just like.
But it's all what your stamp is on, right? It's all your remix.
It's been worth it just to see like some of the kids' reactions.
Yeah,
like,
but if you can get one kid to get interested in drawing, how rewarding would that be?
Yeah.
I mean, it's passionate for you, then you create that passion in somebody else, and that's what writing or art can be for that storytelling factor. You're trying to inspire others. And by telling a great story, and if you do that and inspire them, then it's like a round robin of just creativity.
Let me stop there. I'll give you a quick example. Skateboarding. I was a real serious skateboarder one time, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna do this. Like totally oblivious to how awful I was at skateboarding. And I had one experience. I was out at a skate park, and a guy, the South Side San Antonio guy brought his little one. You know, he don't speak English. And dude's super pumped just to see me skate, right? And I'm falling and my board goes everywhere. And he runs, grabs the board and brings it to me. And I'm like, okay, what is going on here? Like, am I being like I feel like I'm having one of those moments where I'm like, well, I'm way too into myself at this moment, you know, like trying to be the cool guy, right? And then so I was like, okay, let's change this up a bit. We'll get him on the skateboard, you know, let him. And then you just see that it's like whole life changed. Like, oh my God. Like, you know, and I feel like this part in my career with the YouTube stuff, with just the fan art, with dealing with Siouxpercon, reaching out to just young kids, like even the kids we met last May, it's just like to see their eyes, you know, it's just something silly too. It's awesome to have this, like, I really feel like as artistically, I don't think I'm that, like, I have a lot more room to grow, is my opinion. Like, there's a lot more fine tuning involved, especially for this field and medium called comic books. But man, when I really feel like I'm a billionaire in the sense that I don't really, like, I want to make a living, but the way that, like, it's valued to others, the way I don't value the piece of paper with some colors on it, and it becomes something else to them, is just like, oh yeah, man, I know I could die happy already. Right. So, you know, it's all good. So that's part of it. That's like part of life. That's probably a metaphor you could probably use in all aspects of your life, right? Like, you know.
I think the way it sounds to me is that you actually enjoy what you're doing. You're not even out for any money. You're just doing it because this is what you like.
Right. Well,
and
I think like Garrett said, like you, it's almost this continuous flow of opening doors for other people type thing. Like, so.
Well, think about the corporate world, that's all about closing doors. It's not about, they want you to be a drone, okay? Us, we get to express ourselves, share our opinions, and just like love what we do. And so I would rather always open doors, never close them.
So I'm going to have to play off my name. So Mikey opens doors to pure imagination.
Boom.
Wow.
Pure comic book.
Yes. Going off of that, there's a Japanese concept for the reason of being. Have you ever heard about this?
No. I love the way that because I'm learning about some other words too, about like trades. There's like other variations of like the same word of like craftsman and tradesman. So yeah, go ahead.
So you were talking about like, yeah, you love what you do and you get, a charge out of like doing something you love and see somebody else love it. And you like to make a business out of it and make a living off of it. But, right now you're liking what you're doing. There is a reason of being. What it is that the key to happiness is 4 things. Doing what you love, doing what the world needs, doing what you can be paid for, and doing what you're good at. And they think like if you do something you love, but also does something that the world needs, you're considered, you're on a mission, you have a mission, right? If you get something you pay for, if you get paid for something, but also the world needs, that's a vocation, right? That's a job. If you get paid for something, but you're something you're good at, you're a professional. You're a professional at that. Something you love and you're good at, you'll be able to do, it's a passion. But if you get all 4 of those together, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. How do you think you say that? Aikiga?
I don't even know if I want to touch
does the phone do the pronunciation for you?
Let's look that up.
See that. Man, we're in 2018, brother. Catch up.
And so we learned about Jason earlier today. So,
but if you can do all those things, Ikigai. It's like the key, like get paid for something, you're good at it, you love to do it, and hey, it like you said, those kids, like they see and they get happy. It's something the world needs. The world needs a little bit of happiness from, they get that drawing and something that Garrett says, they might see them and be like, oh, cool, like that's what I want to do with my life. And I think that's really, those 4 things really are the key to anything, right?
I'm going to look that up because that's going to have to make a shirt or put a poster up and remind myself each day because it's a weird thing, this thing we call life. So, I think I learned that. I had a rest in peace, my dad's best friend, Jack. He told me, man, years ago, he's like, what's your plan? Okay, well, I'm going to do this business stuff. Well, he said, take a minute and think. Do what you love. Eventually, the money will come. So that's kind of been what this starving artist thing has been going on for me. Because it's like, I am 32, going to be 33. I am not the, all ladies out there. I am available. But, I'm the bars.
Let's go.
Oh, man.
Get some beer,
I don't know
man.
if I can deal with the bars anymore, man. It's like.
Can't deal with these married women anymore.
Oh. No, you can't live without them, or you can't live with them, you can't live without them, or something.
But
something like that.
What he said is right, is like, just do something you love, and maybe if something comes out of it, it's great. Right. But I think actually something we'd say on the show all the time, and when we first started was like, when the show first started, I was like, if we do this show and nobody ever listens, it's just for us, great.
Right,
like we could do 2 years of this show and have 2 years of us talking for 2 hours each. That's like 208 hours of talking.
I will raise you a couple hundred years. If one person is affected by my work in a couple hundred years, I won't even know that knowledge, but it just put it out there in the ether, or 1,000 years. That I think is saying something.
Right, because you don't truly die until the last person remembers that you were alive. And so
that's how I've been playing with my immortality, and I try and push that on people with creating things. It's like you are like shout out to my Uncle Rob, custom. He does for some really cool. He's not in business yet, but he does a lot of cool custom furniture type stuff. And I'm like, man, do you realize some of the stuff you're building, is going to be it's going to be here when all of us are gone. It'll be next generations are going to have this. So in a sense, you doing this with your hands and stuff, this is a form of immortality.
Absolutely.
Maybe the best form. Who knows?
Right. And I think, I've mentioned on this show before, something that I really do find exciting and people is when you see that passion, right? Cause you're saying your uncle's doing that, you're doing your drawing, and just seeing people being like, hey, I love this, I'm going to do this anyways. And what Kevin Smith says about like, hey, you're going to die one day, so might as well try to do something you love.
Yeah.
And it's that passion to be like, and I think I'm trying to figure out what it is. I've been talking about this recently with a lot of people. Like, what's it about that passion? I think it's that raw human emotion being like, I like to do this. Like, yes, there's things in your life that you try to survive, right? Food, water. That's all like basic, animalistic kind of things. But
it's essentials for life.
Essentials for life. But the passion, I think, is a thing that's kind of unique to humans. No other animals can be like, hey, you know what? I like to draw. Like, you know what I mean? A monkey's not looking to draw.
I feel like I follow you, but I argue against that word,
really?
Man. I feel like that word is such a catch-all because I feel like in my experience, there's different forms of passion. Like, I'm passionate about both movies and comics, but only one of those I will sacrifice my sleep to do.
Yeah.
So there's a different form of passion in there, I think, or a degree of more passion, if you will. Like,
well, I think maybe maybe there's a different word for it, but the passion for doing something you love, like creation.
Maybe there's an add-on of drive that I'm maybe not articulating with that. Like,
it's not really to do with like that. Yes, you're like indulging in somebody else's work, but I think maybe like the creation, the passion behind your own creation. That's
how crazy in love are you with it? Like, maybe that's it. Like, how crazy are you? Like, are you willing, like, that girl that you I would go stand out in front of your house and go,
Are you going to be John
we're looking at you.
John Q.
I love you, baby. I love you. You know, that's like that where it's like you're willing to put yourself
or hey, you're doing
vulnerable.
art. Are you willing to every day go do stuff and you're not getting paid for it, but you're putting the word out there? You're going to go, draw for people and be like, hey, we're just doing this. I love to do it. When we do this podcast. And like I said, at the beginning, it was like, hey, if we just listen, it's fine. Like that's, and I think a part of that is, and I'm not sure, I'm sure maybe for your art, right? Right now, like you were saying, you're drawing a kid, like some kid comes in, he wants you to draw Captain America. You're like, and you get this kind of like passion right in your heart. You're like, oh, this is what I like. And that's a little excitement being like, this is what I'm here for. Right. And I think that's what I mean. Yes. Like that little drive being like, boom, this is why today I'm alive to do this.
The fuel to my artist car.
I think that's what it is. The passion, the fuel behind creation. That's what I'm talking about.
It's great.
How long have you been working on your art?
Okay. So let's break it down.
Yeah.
I've always been, let's say, what people would say, gifted, illustrative wise. Like I can articulate by drawing much better than I can vocally or through words. And then that's carried on into other things. Other forms of art come easy to me. Maybe learning those art forms comes easy to me. But it's only been over like the last 2.5 years that it's been in like this overdrive fine tuning of like, to be honest with you, I don't think I technically have a comic book style yet. And that's a major thing in this industry, especially when you're trying to brand yourself. And the Comic Book Genie brand is amazing, but still I still have to fine tune a look that when it's on the shelf and you're over on the other side of the room, you go, oh, I bet you that's Mikey's stuff.
Yeah. Right. Well, like Jim Lee, right? You knew that was Jim Lee?
No, yeah. Oh, man. You can just look at that and go, oh, yeah, that's Jim Lee.
Yeah. Like, and some people we like Chris Samney, all this Chris Samney. David Aja, that's David Aja's work. Though, if you go back and read their, like you were talking about before. These
are all homages that have grown off of each other.
Yeah, right.
Like, because when I think of him, I think of like Arthur Adams.
Yeah.
And same with J. Scott Campbell. Like, all these are like branches. Like, you can see the Jim Lee influence in J. Scott Campbell.
I think Samney's a lot Ditko,
Yeah. Well, so you get me, right? Like,
Leonardo Romero. Yeah, right.
Leonardo's a new guy in the scene, and basically,
Hawkeye? From Hawkeye, looks a lot like Aja.
That's what I was gonna say. He's a little Aja, so you're even getting this kind of, like comics is not that it hasn't been around for. If you go back to think about like I was talking about those cavemen drawings, so it's basically comic books, but the actual
there's always been illustrative storytelling, but as far as like the American comic book, because it's different from even manga, right? And manga is its own other thing, even though it's technically.
So if you're if you're reading long enough, you start seeing these generations, like you said, influenced by other people. And I think we're at this point now, even on the show, where for a while we were talking about David Aja and how great he is, and then now we got this new person, Leonardo Romero, and a lot of comments we make was like, this guy's really like Aja. And I guarantee you, if we sat down and talked to this guy, he'd be like, yeah, he's smart, he's a favorite artist, and that's his style. He's going off it. But also, when I see Romero, I know it's not Aja, but I know it's influenced by him.
Yes.
Right. And I think there's a fine line, and there's probably a lot of guys that have been called out on it. I know there's been some weird circumstances where artists have called other artists for biting or swiping.
But it's all remix.
I don't know if you guys know what I mean.
Yeah,
by
I
that,
know what
right?
you mean. Tracing and
and then mixing up the colors or something like that, or taking someone's legit panel and then putting it in yours. Granted, you may have to save time and make some choices when you do things like that, but I think there's a noble way of doing that. Maybe it's just maybe that's something I have to work through. I have to take really take everything, because I go through so much art. It's hilarious.
I was going to say, so you're talking about you're going back and reading obviously classics, trying to get this influence.
Right now, I'm going back to Kirby right now.
Kirby, okay.
Because every time I go back to that guy, I feel like I have not appreciated the way he did art. Right, it's not. God, I want to be real careful with my words here, because the man. I'm having a hard time right now deciphering what was more amazing. What he was doing with his art, or the efficiency and the amount of time he was able to bang these pieces of art.
Yeah.
Because right now that's taking a 51-49 for me. Because it's I've been researching that. Dude was an animal.
Yeah.
One quote I saw that was at one point, he did 90 pages in 1 month.
Holy shit.
It's a lot of pages.
And I don't know, right now, as far as I know, I would say I'm professional in the sense that I've been on National Lampoon. I'm with their weekly humorist group. Technically I could say that's part of the satire.
Yeah.
It's not mad, but it's still National
Didn't
Lampoon.
Jack Kirby start in satire too?
Yes and no, right? But here's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I'm understanding better that the way that comic art is done today. I think Jim Lee does if he's doing it, he bangs out one awesome page a day.
Yeah.
Same with Fiona Staples.
Yeah.
Her full inks and colors for that page are done in 1 day.
Yeah.
Now, Jack Kirby did if we're doing the math, he did close to 3 or 4 a day, even though if it's not just pencils, if it's just pencils, I don't know, some of that stuff is still mind boggling. I think I'm ready to step up to the plate to challenge some of that stuff.
I'm with you. And let me throw this twist out there.
Yeah.
You're saying is it really great, or is it great for that time? Nobody could do that at that time. He's putting out 90 at that time, but
no one did what he did. Right?
No.
And everyone was influenced by it.
Yeah.
He was the first guy to give you that perspective 3D look of the fist coming out.
Yeah.
That is and then
you're trying to figure
hands
out
right now are my thing.
If anybody else,
I see Kirby's hands.
Yeah.
Everywhere. You see that everywhere.
Yeah.
And then with the squareness of the tips of the hands, I'm just dude, Jack Kirby, that's such an influence on all of us. And we don't realize it.
As somebody who writes something in the same way about Stan Lee, right? Was he really great, or was he just the guy that was there? He was the guy sweeping up.
I would challenge both. They are both amazing people. If we we can't have what we had.
Combo though? Was it the combo of the two of them?
Right. It is. No, it's like the Beatles, bro.
Yeah.
It
wouldn't have happened to him.
We would not have it if McCartney was not there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
McCartney, right?
McCarthy, yeah.
McCarthy era. No. Okay. So that's that goes back to what we were talking about. That's the beauty of this art form right now. It's the smaller version of a movie, because a movie takes thousands of people, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's on the shoulders of 3 guys or 2 guys, you can really see where that stuff either Saga. Mm-hmm. Saga right now is to me one of the best combos of writing and art.
Yeah.
And then what she's doing with her art too. This is the first time it turned me on to digital backgrounds, like
Yeah.
that type of painting, digital painting.
Have you seen her draw on YouTube?
Oh yeah, dude! I've watched some of that stuff, and shout out to Fiona Staples.
Yeah.
Like, I'm coming for you, girl. Like, you have set the mark. You have set the mark with that 1 page a day. Even that.
Yeah.
If I could get 2 pages a day that are a third decent, then I'm sure there's somewhere out there that like there's some space for me.
She's somebody who's new, where you look across the way and you're like, that's Fiona Staples. Like, you know.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't even have to see anything. You're just like,
No. Yeah.
And I mean, I've like a lot of my stuff. Like I have, I did like an Alien series that were like with some poppy colors, completely influenced by Saga. It's like pinks and the bright poppy colors.
Do you have most of your like catalog on your Facebook, or how would you see most of your images?
Embarrassing. My Facebook presence right now is horrible, but right now it's been Instagram. Last couple of years been Instagram. Absolutely. Been trying to go wherever the flow has been going with things like, before that was Twitter, and
it's very hard this day and age. There's so many avenues to reach people. You don't know.
You feel your age every year. You're just like, oh, I wasn't.
We tried this. We have an Instagram, but
Snapchat.
To be fair, didn't know we had an Instagram.
Yeah.
To be fair, I know technologically impaired.
Do you remember those pictures you got mad that I was taking during the show? That's for the Insta.
Dude, you missed out on my picture that I got with these cats, man.
I know. Honestly, we were talking about that before the show, that I missed out on some pics. I'm disappointed.
Well, so next time, Infinity War.
Yes. Oh,
Infinity War.
Hell yeah.
What is your process when you start drawing? Is it like, do you go?
Man, we're not even here for hours. We need a separate one. Man.
Not even for the 5-minute fiascos. Let's say you're just going to draw something tonight, and is it like an idea that pops in your head, or are you just like, hey, I would really want to draw this kind of character? Like, how do you get started? Like, what gets you excited to, like, I'm going to draw today and draw this? Like, how do you keep that going?
Not drawing gets me excited to draw.
Yeah.
I've been actually wanting to ask you.
Trying to get back to this,
I've actually been wanting to ask you, how much right now are you wanting to grab?
Yeah, I'm trying to be polite because I don't want to, like, a quarter there and only three quarters with you guys. Like, I want to be fully involved with this. But I don't know if it's that easy to articulate as like a thought or something like that. Maybe structure, start with structure, build off that structure, go with it.
What about when you're working on your style? You said you're working on your style. Mm-hmm. Is it you go back and look at other people's styles and go, what do I want to do with my thing? Like, you're looking at.
I continually am looking at my stuff here, I'll give you an example. Like, I try and communicate with as many people as I can about stuff and process and things like that. Everybody's different. Everybody handles things differently, time-wise, vibe-wise. So, like later tonight, like I'm going to do some stuff, some brainstorming, right? Shout out to a comic book look, guys, man. I got you guys you guys are in the scopes, man. We got some blank variants coming your way, man. But I did this with another thing for Sergeant America, where I wanted to look at it a few times and pick out if I saw too much of an influence from someone I love. Like, sometimes, like, I showed some, like, here's an offshoot. I went to Denver Comic Con.
Yeah.
And I showed my stuff to, like, some top dogs, dude.
Yeah.
And I could tell, like, I was like, yeah, I bet they think I'm too close to their style.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, okay, you need to, nothing wrong with that. It's all part of, like, the learning process. Like, I don't feel guilty about it. Like, I'm not apologetic about it, but I just know that, like, that's not the way to go. Like, the way to go is really find your voice. Like, like, I guess it, like, for like a rapper or something, like, if you sound too much like someone, it really, it affects, like, the listener, the viewer.
Let's think about writing too. Every time you start writing, at least I do, in the back of my head, I'm like, somebody told the story before. Like, what's going to, like, we were talking about before, how am I going to put my own stamp on this thing? Like, what's the thing that makes this mine and not make it, like, something I've watched on TV and somehow it's in my subconscious and I'm like, oh, I got to write this story. And it's like, well, but this has been told already. There's like a million movies and stories about bank heists. Right. But how do you make Baby Driver? How do you make Baby Driver that came out last year? How do you make that? How did Edgar Wright make that his own? Well, he's got his own kind of style. When you watch the movie, that's an Edgar Wright movie. When you watch, something like Saga, right? It's going to be a fantasy movie. It's Romeo and Juliet. It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy
when you
Romeo
break it down, right?
Yeah. But it's like, what makes this different, and what makes this, like you said, you're not like accidentally copying somebody.
Yeah, so that's my process. So like for these variant covers, I'm gonna be doing like some test stuff before I get down on it.
Yeah,
I get really sensitive with people's variants.
Yeah,
I think it's super important to like get that right. Like, I did a Thanos one for Comic Book Look, guys, John, and the whole time I was doing it, he loved it at the end. Thanks, bro. But the whole time I was doing it at Siouxpercon, I was just like, oh God, I am like drawing on someone's baby, like this is important. Like, so, and then for like other things, I think it would just start with structure. Like I work with a group with a guy that has like, he does like a charter school or something in China.
Yeah.
And for his students, they get to draw their superhero and then they send it my way. And then I do it like a more like professional look style. You can find some of that stuff on Instagram. It's really fun. I'll have some videos coming soon. And then at the end of this project, we're gonna do like, I'm gonna do like a page for each of the superheroes. And there's like 20 something of them. So we're going to have enough to be like almost like this mini comic book for these kids, Yeah. And just like something like that. Start with structure, pay homage to what the kid or what you feel like what the kid's message was trying to get across. Cause some of those are just like, I love kids. Like the way that they think about superhero and superpowers, like I think could entertain the world for another like 1,000 years, because the stuff they come up with is just like a little bit repetitive on other things, just because like there's so many good superhero stuff that we love, like Wolverine, Batman, like that's a major theme in a lot of kids' stuff, and it's like, of course it is, because it's
it's the purest form of art, those kids, because there's no inhibitors. They're not even thinking about that kind of stuff. They're not even caring that they're going to copy somebody else.
No,
they're just like, hey, I want to draw this. And maybe, like you said, it's another take on Wolverine, but hey, maybe that kid will do something different. Like you said, hey, this is cool. Like, it's cool.
Like who knows? Like that's the beauty of living in this world, right? You just don't know like what could come of something, what could blossom, or
So I got to pique my Superman interest. Now, a lot of people I've read like articles about drawing, like Superman in general, they always struggle with the S. Huh?
You want me to teach you how to draw Superman?
I don't know. You want to see? I mean, I'm good at drawing.
Draw your own Superman.
I mean, I can't draw my own Superman. I can't even make the symbol good. And so, I mean, like, does it come? Like, have you seen your Superman symbol? And
I would love to one day, hopefully, be on a Batman or Superman just to take on that headache.
Yeah, like that'd be. I mean, that's what I see as the struggle, because I've never seen one S that's perfect.
Okay, you know what? On that. Buddy Bob his dad wants me to do one of the original Superman drawings, and homage to that.
Nice.
And have you seen that symbol?
Yeah, I like that symbol.
Where it's almost like
the black one with the pendant. Yep.
Yeah, like that's like
it's like more of a curvy S.
Yeah, right.
How did that come about? So I think that's a really like. So
there's a lot of cool. If you look, I mean, just as far as that symbol goes, this is Superman nerd coming in here. There's like you can see all the different generational Superman symbols and like how it's evolved from that to what it is today, like what you see back here.
Yeah, the ones that I usually do, they're pretty much homages or swipes of the current current DC, like Jim Lee's S.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or he's got like multiple, but like one of the main ones where it's like it's almost like you're doing the outskirt parts of the S to get the S.
To fill it in.
So it's not even like you're outlining the S. You're actually just remember what shapes are the ones in between. Like they're these weird fish shapes.
Yep.
But yeah, I like go back to that. I think one day if like I got the privilege to take on the nightmare of like Batman, because I know like if you mess up Batman, like you're gonna make fame. You will make fame because people will hate you or love you or like But the same thing, like I would love to have a take on the bat symbol that would like catch on. Like I think that would be like, hitting it out of the park. At the same time, I really feel we're at this age in comic books and storytelling where creator-owned stuff is really important.
Yeah.
So I think for the long run for me, I think like some of the stuff I'm doing, I don't know if you watch my Instagram, I've got like weird goblin and troll stuff. That might be where I end up going to where like, maybe pick off with, ElfQuest ending. Maybe, scoop up all those people, like let it keep it going, like something. But, like that's, God, symbols and icons. And was another podcast right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we were talking about before. It's like, you can do something, create your own, and like make it your own. Or you said like if you're a fan of Batman, right?
Oh, I would
How
just
great would that?
to be a part of that history.
Yeah,
Like I can be in my head and be like, oh, I can draw Batman. Yeah, I'm cool. But not until you're on the shelf. Like,
Yeah.
that's like, like you're still playing AAA baseball, bro. Like
you start getting those opinions in, and then you're
Yeah.
like. Meanwhile, the thing with something create your own, right? You're asking for those opinions. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
start looking at my stuff. I want to kind of
Yeah,
get
so
opinions.
that's an interesting thing. Maybe there's a whole new era that's upon us where, like possibly I would be like Comic Book Genie would be the printer, all aspects of it, the writer, the illustrator, the producer, for lack of a better word.
Well, it is like you said in this day and age. Really, it's the easiest time ever to do your own thing. Anything, movies, comics.
Let me stop you.
Yeah.
Have you guys read Private Eye?
Yes,
I have not.
I've read parts of it.
I
There's like 2
love
issues.
that idea that those
Right.
guys
Yeah.
put it out there and pay what you want.
yeah.
Like that is great.
They have that. They have Barrier. I think.
I haven't read that one. Is that the UFO one?
That's the Border.
Oh yeah, what is
yeah.
it like? There's like a UFO.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
science
Okay.
fiction.
Yeah.
Did they do the same thing with
Spoilers.
that Walking Dead issue?
They did a Walking Dead issue
Yeah.
on there, the one in Paris. And one of the first issues, Walking Dead, they talk about somebody whose brother's in Paris, and that's what that story is.
Right.
That's Brian Cavan also, but like he opened it up to other people to use it. His what do they call that? Private Eye. What's the? Do you remember what the brand's called?
No. Shame on you
Something
for not
Studios.
having
I'll look it
that
up here
ready.
in a second. But yeah, you're right. Like it's the easiest time ever to.
Let me
put
throw
something
you
out there.
another curveball here, guys.
Yes.
What do you think about? And I've only experienced this in like one digital comic, and it was a Star Trek one. Sound effects and sound. Like I feel like that is almost now going to become possibly a new category. Like it's not comic books, but it's almost like a comic book GIF, right? Like each panel could be a GIF. Like am I saying that right? It's not GIF, right? It's GIF.
Either way.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
live
Don't
your
judge me.
life.
Don't judge me out there.
Panel Syndicate's their brand.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. That's where you find all those, right? That you can go and pay
Yeah.
what you want, download. But yeah,
Right.
what do you guys? Do you guys do any digital stuff? Like, I
do.
Like,
They had it
okay.
for a while. They had digital comics that were kind of animated in that way.
Well, what
that
about the
Marvel
sound
and
part?
Marvel?
Like, what do you think about the sound part and music part? Because I feel like there's something there, but no one's ever done it yet. Like, someone's like, isn't there? There's there's a comic that they it's like a heavy metal. What is the? God, shame on me. Forgive me, but it was a comic involved like a mystery involving like all these all these metal bands or all these rock bands, and it was like and then like she had in the comic like a playlist, and it was
I
like
never heard
this
this.
like I'm gonna figure this out and I'll text.
But you're
you
right
guys.
though. Like there's a chance to like this podcast. Like you could put out audio to a comic book or like anyway, just put it out there. They would go and get it and read it along with the comic. Like you said, it would be kind of like, oh, they do actually. If you go to audible.com, Audible has a lot of what they do basically is adapt comics to audio.
See, I like something like that, but
Yeah.
almost going back to like the Marvel days where they did the records with the comics, and it was almost like it went with it, but
Yeah.
maybe like in another way that's more music video-ish. Like you don't have to have the music synced up with the pictures.
Not a complete full animation, but it's
Right,
still like
like,
comics, but still like there's something else
Yeah.
you put in your
I
spin.
have seen something like that. I mean, it's very, very like juvenile, but like they did the Death of Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man. There's a 20-minute movie basically, but it's all using all the comic panels. So
yeah, I'm a sucker for that stuff. I really
Right.
like that. So like what the Watchmen did. Remember when Watchmen
Yep.
had the
when they did the motion comic,
yeah, the
basically.
motion comic.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. That kind
You know,
of
the-
storytelling.
They could have had a chance to do that. Marvel for a while was trying to do AR, where you would hold your phone over it and it would kind of play like a video.
That shit never worked.
It never worked, but like
God, it
if you get
pissed
that
me off.
technology to work, you could like go over a comic and it could like bring to life these
Well,
sounds
the
and
stuff
stuff.
that they're doing with AR, right? That's augmented reality.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Where like even those Pokemon games where they're showing the graphics come up.
Yeah.
Like man, like I
Stats
really
and
feel
stuff
like
like
we're
that.
right around
Yeah.
that corner where someone's gonna be like taking that level of actually coming out
the
of
newest
the comic.
iPhone, like that's the selling point, that it has AR on it. Like it really has great AR technology. If you could, like you said, instead of buying comics, like maybe buy something that has, some sort of thing where the phone reads it and all of a sudden it plays like kind of like an animated thing. Yeah. Or even like within the comic, like you said, that one had a playlist. It was part of the comic, kind of mixing mediums. If you had a comic and then one thing at the end, like you play it and it shows you.
Guys, I'm going to have to stop you. We're giving too many good ideas.
I know.
Either we're going to have to cut it short. What else do you want to know about me? Hey, I love long walks on the beach, and
What would you say, like, out of all? I mean, that's gonna be tough. Like, what do you say is like one of your most prized drawings? Like the ones that you like think that you put like most of your heart into, that you're like, you look at it every time and you're like, this is just great for me. Is there one?
I said, do you have a holy grail of that you have drawn?
Right, exactly. That's kind of what I'm asking. Like, is there one that you just look at and you're just like, that's
like you signed it and you're like, this is my
magnum opus?
Yes.
It's very hard though, right?
I don't know if
I know it's early on.
I don't know.
You're right. It's very early on.
Okay,
but just if you were going to be that like cocky guy that's like, this one I know I love.
Man, but there's no worse critic than yourself when you're doing something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I love. Yeah, no. Everybody go to comicbookgenie.com. Yeah, this. Find me on YouTube. It's 5-minute fiascos. What I would say is what gives me most joy and most honor, and flatters me the most is someone that really like digs what I did for them. Like. So I would like all of those. Like I can't even tell you what they got pumped about, but just that reaction. So recently though, did you guys see that He-Man that I colored that's got all that white out? Man, I like that. But it's awful. Like it's not awful. Everybody, it's going to be at Benson's Flea Market tomorrow and Saturday. It's going to be available. I don't know when this podcast will air, but it'll be you can find
it's going to air on Sunday.
Sullivan Collectibles. My boy John, he's going to have that. He wanted to do that for a raffle for his, he's got a small business now at Benson's Flea Market where he's doing classic and antique action figures. Oof. So he's got a lot of He-Man stuff, like all the stuff that we used to play with back in the 80s and stuff like that. And
you were too young for that, Garrett. Sorry.
Hey, I was pre-womb.
Let me ask you a question, take on what Garrett said, but a little hypothetical. And we were talking about it earlier.
Love hypotheticals.
One of the big two comes at you and says they want you to do a book. What book do you do? What's your dream book that you want to get thrown on? And
that's such a compacted thing, right? Because it's like, what am I ready for? Like, am I really ready for that? Right? Personally, right now, I'm ready to figure that out. There's this. I'm gonna go by this little motto, right? It's what did I came up with this the other day? EFF, F it up.
Yeah.
EFF, efficient, fast, and fun. Right.
Yeah.
So if I can get and I'm not, and I don't want to come off downgrading anyone's style or complexity, but I think if I can get to a point where I can get a look that's simple like Amanda Connor, fun and fashionable as Saga.
Yeah.
And I'm not a good writer, but have that part come into it. Boom. I think that'd be a home run worth falling flat on your face for, like putting your all into that. I would definitely want to get on one big one just to be a part of that history. What's
one your
the
way.
Most important?
You're going back to reading. You talked about Jack Kirby as an influence, Fantastic Four.
Yeah, like
or even New Gods book.
Yeah, I might go there. I might go if I was gonna pay an homage to the Michelangelo of comics.
Yeah,
Jack Kirby, the King. Rest in peace. We love you, sir. It would be to do something like that.
Yeah.
Take something that he had and honor it. And you have to put yourself like on the spot, right? Because then there's people coming at you and be like, dude, you ruined
That's a big one
Kirby,
to take,
right?
yeah.
So you got to have like a strong skin to know that that's coming at you, like no matter what. And you have to face that and be true to yourself and be true to the artist that they came before you. Like stand on the shoulders of Titans is like, that's a big responsibility, but it has to be happening or no one's going to do it, right? Like you have to push yourself. Okay. Stylistic wise though, I'm a sucker for Jorge Jimenez.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Such good art.
That has blown my mind.
He's
Sir.
great.
Oh, dude.
Did you see the one where it's Clark Kent and he's like morphing into Superman as he flies into the sky?
Dude, I have issues of the Super Sons that I still haven't read because I'm just like, I get so giddy when I'm just like, oh, this guy. And I think, dude, he's setting Jorge Jimenez. I hope you hashtag this guy because like mad props to that gentleman. I don't know if you've seen that guy, but dude, that dude is good looking. He looks like a Spanish Superman. Yeah. He's like, and I love women, but that dude is attractive. Like
I've seen his Twitter, like he's very stylistic.
Yeah, like I think that's something to strive for too. Like when you're healthy in body and mind, like I think it shows in your work, to me, it shows in that guy's work. Yeah. Like that stuff is amazing.
It looks so good.
You know, going back.
I thought you were bringing up Jorge Jimenez.
Find a picture.
I see.
Quick enough. Going back to what you're saying about the Jack Kirby New Gods thing, if you're going to take that and you know for a fact it's going to come at you because they know you're taking over the king, or trying
full
to
force.
You're trying to remix the king. I think at that point you got to kind of take a page out of Stan Lee's handbook when he was going to do Fantastic Four and he knew like I'm either going to quit or might as well just do something I want to love. I think at that point you got to be like, I know people like there's going to be people no matter what I do are going to say it's bad.
Yeah, I should soften that comment really because that's part of the game, right? In any game that you're putting yourself out there.
You do Batman, they say, "Hey, this guy's not Jim Lee."
With the good.
Yeah, you do Batman, they say they're not Jim Lee. You go out there and you try to do Fantastic Four, they're going to be like, "You're not Kirby." You do you do Spider-Man, they said they're going to go, "This guy's not Todd McFarlane."
No, yeah, exactly, right.
But guess what? Todd McFarlane wasn't no Ditko until he came out and people like, "Hey, I like this guy."
Right, exactly. And then what happened? We got the Spider-Man. We got the webbing.
Yeah.
Right. We got the spaghetti webbing that we didn't know that we actually wanted.
If you ever heard Todd talk about that too, he even says is like I drew Spider-Man like how I like to look at Spider-Man.
Todd McFarlane, I would shout out to that gentleman is another Titan that I think is like has paved the way and opened doors for a lot of us in really strange and awesome ways, like as far as the creator stuff with Image or whatever that stuff. But I've listened to some interviews with that guy where he's like, dude, like I used to get this impression that guy was just some like really boastful and like maybe too prideful of what his accomplishments. And now I'm like, I feel like I need to take on Todd McFarlane's energy whenever I do things because it's like it's not boastful in my opinion anymore. It's more of like you just love it and you're not afraid to love it or something. Like I don't know. So then I go back. I don't have a favorite thing. So then, but then absolutely. Maybe later this year I'll be like, oh man, that was the bomb diggity. Like
it's hard to do, but hey man, you got to be your own hype man. Who else is going to be it? But yourself. Yeah. And you're right though, Todd. I was the same way. Todd, when I first heard him talk, I was like, this guy's really cocky.
Right.
And then recently, especially they had an Image 25 year anniversary. I saw the documentary that they put out.
I haven't watched that show.
I'm like, this guy is not cocky. It's just that he loves what he does so much. He wants to make sure everybody hears it.
He is, to me, he embodies what, and I shouldn't say that people should be a certain way. I think like that's very judgmental. Whatever. That aside, I really feel like what Jack Kirby went through, what Steve Ditko went through, what a lot of hundreds and thousands of artists went through during those times. Like we needed someone like Todd McFarlane. Like, and now we can now move in different directions, right? Because he's not afraid to take over his business. No. Like he's not afraid to be like, no, the end game really is like the ideas, and like earning off those ideas. Like, gosh, I don't know.
A lot of people off on tangent there. No, a lot of people paved the way so that way you can, go down the road comfortably. Yeah. Like when you talk about Kirby went through a lot of stuff we're not getting recognized as, part of that creation. Same thing with Ditko.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier. I don't think it was on the show. Was it on the show? Where he's like...
What's the gentleman for Batman that's
Bill
now...
Finger.
Bill Finger.
Bill Finger. Took years for him to get credit. And like the last 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Batman vs. Superman was his first credit.
Right.
As being creator of Batman. And how long after... He didn't even get to see that, right? And now, like you said, Todd McFarlane went through a lot of stuff with Jim Lee and with... at the time, Valentino, all these people who went off and did Image Comics.
Right.
And now it's the best time I think to put your own stuff out there because a lot of people sacrifice. Todd McFarlane and all those people, they didn't know they were going to have a job when they left and did Image. They could have all failed and like never did comics again in their life, and been doing 9-to-5 jobs instead. So they did a lot to sacrifice for that, so that now people can be like, oh yeah, Image, that's a good company. We should go with Image. And I think you're seeing that a lot more now. Image is a little bigger now. There's a lot of people in the digital market doing their own thing, putting their comic out there.
Yeah.
Somebody who I've seen a lot, even locally, Dylan Jacobson.
Yeah. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Travis.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mark Wagner. I don't know if you guys checked his stuff out. Yeah. Man, I love that type of art style.
They were at SuperCon last year. Like they you do your own thing, no matter if there's somebody back. Like we're talking before, you want to do so much, you're putting it out there, and I think that's where we are right now. Is like not doing your own thing, hoping to make a company out of it. Doing your own thing, like putting it out there digitally. Like that's what we can do today.
And the times are always and will always be changing for this industry. And they always tell you, like, whenever you're like, oh, let me take the class on breaking into comics. So you always hear in them those things. No one does it the same way.
No.
Like twice. Like one person doesn't get it off the same way as the other person did. So it's like, maybe it's about time that it's like maybe us guys here, like we're going to be like, not to like, hey, we're going to be the top dogs in the next 10 years or whatever, but who knows? Like, but maybe if we approach it like a Drake or a Lil Wayne, like just throwing out those
Chance the
mixtapes.
Rapper.
Yeah, just throwing them out, like, yeah, Chance the Rapper.
He's not signed to a label.
Right? And maybe there's like, who will be the first that's like, besides like ElfQuest, probably like ElfQuest, probably like the most creator owned Titan. But like along those lines, like people coming up on the shelf.
Yeah.
And doing it through them, It's not like I don't think it's going to be that hard for me to find, like once I have my comic together or multiple comics together. On a side branch, have you guys been to Japan?
No. Never left the country.
Okay, do you read any manga or anything like that?
I've read some, yeah.
Okay, have you ever come across those like weekly or monthly manga books that have just like all those different stories in them?
Like Shonen Jump?
Yeah, and they usually have like one headliner.
Yeah.
And that's get like more color, but the rest of it's like the monocolor.
Yeah.
And they'll do different pages, different colors.
Yeah.
Or like use a red paper or yellow paper or whatever. How come we don't have that stuff?
Yeah.
That's what the comic we talk about this all the time.
So I think I'm gonna. Yeah. This is my idea and everybody just you try and steal it, bring it, because I'm gonna come hard. Is next this SuperCon this September? I'd like to have at least 3 stories in a one book.
Anthology.
A Comic Book Genie.
See, comics used to be quarterly. So they didn't come out monthly. They'd come out quarterly, and you would get 90 pages of content. And that would tide you over until you'd get a whole arc's worth of content.
Different days though, right? Because that type of art, like those guys who did, what did they tried to push? I was listening about this the other night. Anyways, it was like 4 guys that got approved on Thursday, and by Monday they had 60 pages.
Wow!
So they burnt through that's like even that 90 page a month is mind boggling. 60 pages in under 4 days, like. What?
Well, even Bob Kane had his own studio, and he was pumping it out too.
Well, that's what I mean. Like that quality at that time was amazing.
Yeah.
But if I were like, maybe I'll experiment with this. If I pushed out content like that, would it? It won't get the same attention because it's not at that level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a critique, like guys who know comic books like yourselves might look at it and be like, this might be a little too simplistic for me to keep reading. It takes me out of that.
Sometimes we make the comment that the art's rushed.
At the same time,
right?
Like some of the stuff that's out, I'm not going to drop any names or any titles, is like, really? Like that stuff is hot? Like, really? Like who's like, I kind of want to meet these people. Like I'm like, like I love people and their different ways of thinking, but it's like, is there like a certain group of people that just like that type? Because like, I don't know anymore. Like,
yeah.
And what's the blur of the lines between like when we like do we now have the full spectrum of genre represented in comic books?
No, there's at least 5 that I could count off the top of my head that I'm like, where are these books at?
I feel like there's an opportunity for the ladies and women folk that like romantic stuff to easily like Saga. Like I'm sure like if you give a reasonable girl like nowadays, Saga, and be like, hey, like, we're going to take this plane ride. Yeah, we're going to read this.
They do a survey every quarter on the back, and most of their readership is, I think, female. So
like, what, like almost an opportunity for like all the romantic, mushy stuff, all the Westerns, all this, to come back.
You could literally, and well, actually, one thing before I get to this, and once again, don't steal this. But this actually, Giant Days is a book that Boom puts out that really is about 3 girls in college, and it's a humor book. There's romance stuff in it, and I talk about it once on this book, but I really don't talk about it on the show because you guys don't read it. But it really is that book where I'm like, see, this kind of book is missing in the market. It's just about 3 girls in college, like trying to get through like college. It's like humorous. It definitely is for a wider market, like boys and girls. Right. And it's for people like going through that experience to know they're not alone in that experience and stuff like that. And it really is. And going to that point, I think there are a lot of genres. Like you said, is there a Western comic? No, there's not even a Jonah Hex comic. Like there's no real like
we have Western influence, right? But we don't have like that's the Western section for comic books. Like those titles, you're going to, if you like Westerns, you like Tombstone, go check out.
There's also a twist, right? It's like, oh, you want to, like, not to throw this out of the bus because you guys do like it, like Moonshine. I was interested in the book because they were like, hey, it's about the Prohibition, and it's about them doing moonshining. Oh, by the way, they're werewolves? Yeah, they're also werewolves. And it's like, what can we get a book about, like a history kind of book, right?
So they're probably really hard to sell.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But if you can, like you're saying, create some sort of digital market where you're like, creator owned, like it's
what genre you like,
and put it up there. Actually, I do think because Comixology has a submitter thing where you can submit your stuff and put it up there, and they'll sell it. I'm not sure what the cut is, but I think that gets lost in everything else.
Yeah, I gotta ask Dylan because shout out to Dylan Jason. He's got champions on Comixology.
But I wonder if you did a panel syndicate like that was, and the mission is to put out genre stuff that is not being represented these days, like. Would that work?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it might implode the comic book industry.
I think right now it's barely there. They keep trying to figure out how to make it work. And you see that with Marvel, like restarting 7 times in the last 5 years. They're trying to figure out, how do we make this work? It's not working. Well, maybe it's not working, guys, because
huge red flags.
You're trying to put a circle piece inside of a triangle. Like quit trying to do this. It's not obviously working. And I think what it is, and actually, I just read a news story for the first time ever. Magna, like you were talking about in Japan, digital sales outsell physical sales, and I think a part of that is I was at a comic book shop recently, and somebody went in and was like, "Oh, I didn't even know this existed here." Right? And it's
I tell people all the time.
They don't know.
They're just like, "Oh, where is that?"
Yeah.
Oh, it's 41st in Minnesota.
And I think it's very intimidating to walk in and see all those comic books. Whereas if you had something digital, especially with social media these days, you could be like,
really?
I think so. Like,
interesting.
It's easier for somebody to be like, hey, and social media for Scott and I to be like, hey, my Batman's out today. And somebody sees that, clicks on it. Oh, I can download it and try it. Rather than be like, oh yeah, go to find your comic book shop in your town and ask them if they have it on the shelf. They might not have any issues left. You know what I mean? And maybe there'll be a second printing. Like there's so much that goes into it. That's so much work to read a comic rather than digital. It's there. It's
not every town has a comic book store either.
That too.
So I mean, it's more easy accessible for everybody. If you live out of town, you're not going to come into town when it's snowing. Hey, get your book online right now. Boom, it's done. Already.
And
paid
it's
for
always
it.
there. It's never going to sell out. A, and then B, you're never gonna. It's always going to be there. And then when you need it, and also for like what do you call it? Not size, room. Right? A lot of people are like, oh, this is clutter. And so I think especially nowadays, people are used to streaming stuff, videos. They don't buy physical media anymore. So I think it's shifting.
It's the age, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot less about collecting now. It's about getting the story. It's about getting the art that you can see. I guess I'm guilty. I'm a collector. I want the stuff. I want to physically have it.
I think. What's your favorite, each of you? What is your favorite part about that? About having it physically? Is it the smell? Is it the touch? Is it
for me? It's like it's like organizing. It's like this has been my entire reading journey for like the last 17 years of my life. This is all the books I've gotten, and like even when I file, like I know it's so freaking like
I
over
love
the top
going through my stuff.
But when I'm putting new stuff mixed in with my old stuff, like when I'm filing it together, I get to look at all those covers that I've seen. Like one that comes to mind is the Batman and Robin cover, the Reborn, where they're in front of the Batmobile.
Oh, yep.
oh my God. I see that every time, and I just have to sit there for a couple minutes. I'm just like, I can't. I just got to pause, look at this, just think about all the good memories I associate.
More like the physical cover is something that you...
Yeah, because like digitally, I could see it on the screen, but when I'm holding it in my hands, I'm like, I own this piece of art. It changes something for me.
Do you own original pieces of art that are like the original?
No,
not yet.
No, not yet. I mean, I have some reprints of some like art like that's been done by that's been like outsourced to people. Like I got a Dark Knight Returns print and whatnot, but it's not like the original.
It's just
piece.
print,
right?
It's not actually drawn.
Yeah.
Right. And I would love to have pieces like that, like original pieces, but I have not been fortunate yet to get an original.
All right, Axel.
See, now I like physically owning it, knowing that this is literally my book. I'm a horrible sharer of food, of my things. I used to lend DVDs to people. I don't anymore. I found people's retainers on top of my cases. I've gone berserk. It just irritates me. So I'm one of those people. I love just knowing that it's mine. I could get the digital stuff, but to me, it's not like I actually own it. Yes, it's on my computer. It's on any medium source that I'm on, but I don't actually own it. I've got the rights to read it, but it's not mine.
It depends where you get it, but yeah.
Well, I like, I just read the Fade Out I was telling these guys, and Ed Brubaker likes to make a huge point that he loves print. He loves print comics, and he also he always throws out the statistic that like anything you read digitally, you will not retain as much as you will print. Like he found out some science statistic that you'll retain more like actual holding paper than as opposed to reading it off a glaring screen.
I don't know if I believe that. It's opposite for me.
I know, but that's what I mean. There was some study that he posted in one of the letters.
So let's go to you. What is it?
I don't really collect. I mean, I do obviously have these. I'm the opposite. Right? I'll buy digitally. I'll buy horror. I got to read it.
So Garrett's more about like the having it like a baseball card.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Alex is more like, this is my baseball card.
This is my possession, yes. I have to possess this thing.
And Martin, you're more like, it's on, like, who's on the baseball card.
Yeah, it's about what
it's not even the physical thing of it.
And going back to, so then Alex said, there are certain, if you buy something from Image, you can actually own it. But you have to buy it from Image, like from their website. You can
We'll go back to it. I think that's one of Fiona Staples' biggest issues, is selling her original art that's digital.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, let me buy that original cover that was digital. So you can only buy a print of it. So it's like, yeah. So I think in my future, I'm gonna figure out a way to get that going. Like, I think the guy in The Walking Dead does that. What's the gentleman's name that draws
Charlie Adler?
Yeah, he does the inks, right? Or no, he does the pencils. He pencils his pages, and then he inks digitally.
Yeah,
Clip Studio Pro. Yeah. Shout out to Lamont Dakota Kid. Start inking on Clip Studio Pro, bro, and get off of Photoshop inking. I'm calling you out. I'm just messing, bro. I love you.
There's a lot.
Call me for a beer.
That's the thing. Also, we're talking about distribution in this day and age. There's a lot of ways to get your work out there, but tools, a lot of things you can do with now. Like,
oh yeah, it's brilliant.
Like
right
back when comics started in Jack Kirby age, you had to buy materials to like start doing your work.
I'm a sucker for that. That's one of my favorite things right now is the silly tools that go in it. Do you follow, oh God, I'm horrible with names. Paulo Rivera?
Yeah, Rivera. He did the first arc of Daredevil.
I've seen some videos of the way he works, and it's like, I love it, man. That guy will go from digital to watercolor painting to gouache to like, and it doesn't matter. Like, and he figures out a way, and he's not afraid to use pictures of him posing.
Yeah.
To get muscle color and lighting correctly and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm a big sucker for erasers right now. Like the little special erasers they're like a pencil, but it's got like this teeny little eraser at the end of it that you can like, oh man. Like, oh,
classic there.
Yeah, that's my pornography is the erasers and pencils, man. Oh baby. Oh no.
So that was another question I was gonna ask you. So some artists like Alex Ross or Gary Frank, they'll use like realism to do their art. Do you ever use that as like, say you're drawing Superman, do you ever throw out like Christopher Reeve up on the screen? You're like, I'm trying to you do that?
Definitely depends on who's it for. What kind of illustration that they want. I love... I will say, though, artists and everyone that likes to draw fan art, let's leave Heath Ledger alone for a while.
Is he
Yeah.
overdone?
Yeah.
I think because he did so well with that, and whoever's costume designer or whatever for his makeup and everything, that has to be like such an icon. Like I've overseen that, and like I did one last year where it was just a pencil. And I did a side profile of Heath's Joker, or Nolan's Joker as Heath. Heath as a Joker, and I was just like, God, man, like even I can't get away from it. It's like. And, but yeah, definitely. I think, and shout out to Alex Ross, dude, we love you. Everybody loves you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing, man. You're still like breaking chains for us, man. Like so awesome. Like, and I think like years ago, but like years before him, I think that they would have looked down on his process and they would have they maybe have like cheapened it away, or like seeing how that like cheapens the idea. And I don't believe in that anymore. Like I do not believe in that stuff anymore. Like you use any type of tool you can.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm like, if you're going to be a stickler about that stuff, then you got to be stickler about the guys using rulers for their buildings.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's that simple.
If you look at Kingdom Come, which I've lent to Marvin, he hasn't read it in a million years.
Does it still have it?
Yeah. How do you like the Shazam? The picture of the
I know,
Shazam
it's amazing.
costume.
Right. And then if you look in the back, he actually took physical pictures of people wearing these outfits.
A lot of them
and
are
drew,
him, too.
Right. They are him
Yeah.
posing for his
Another
own
guy
pictures.
that keeps, and I think that's a Frank Frazetta thing, right?
Yeah.
Frank Frazetta was into his body, and that's why he got those amazing looks of those like dynamic anatomy.
Right.
Like, so yeah, I think I just got to get more self-indulgent and get my six-pack back.
You just think about Alex Ross to me, because there was a point in time when I did enjoy his art because I thought it was too static, but I've grown to love it in a way that's like it's so classic, and it's so when you see, and he's like, the man still works monthly. He puts out Spider-Man covers monthly.
Yes.
And every time I look at that cover, there's never a time, and I think I've grown to love the dynamics of his cover. There's never a time I look at the cover and go, oh, that looks boring. It always looks exciting. Like there's action on the page.
No, I am not afraid to say that Alex Ross is our Leonardo da Vinci right now for comic
Astro
covers,
City,
because that
and-
stuff is
yeah.
Mona Lisa's
Dude, I just put it away.
over
I
and
put it
over
away.
and over. Like,
His cover
and
for
another artist you can see right from
Yeah,
the other
you
side.
know.
You're like, oh, that's
yeah.
got to be him. That's got to be Alex
There's
Ross.
there's nobody who can mimic his style.
Nope.
There's nobody.
There's
I
some
can
guys
see-
coming up.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some guys coming up that, well, I mean, they're not coming up. They're already professionals, but I don't think they're as in like big of light as
Limelight
others.
right now.
But do you know who Drew Struzan is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who did all the.
He's doing The Walking Dead, right? No, variant covers.
No. Yeah, is he?
I think so.
No, that's Jason Sean Alexander.
Well, Drew Struzan was the
No, it's
guy who
not.
did the Indiana Jones posters.
I thought he was.
That's
Oh yeah,
fun.
yeah. No, I'm thinking somebody else, but it's
Okay,
not.
well, Drew
It's
Struzan did
Struzan.
all the, and he had that signature style of like the
Well,
Indiana
that's
Jones.
that Bill
Guy, he did so many movies, right? What
I was just
that?
gonna say
What's
this Alex Ross cover for Astro City 50. It's just I look at this and I'm like, this man understands how to tell a story in an image, right?
Yes, beautiful storytelling. And I think that's one of the things you have to like. It's hard to live up. Like I think in the future, if I got someone that did amazing artwork like that, shout out to Jeremy Lindbergh. Get your act together. That stuff is almost intimidating to follow up sequential art behind something like that, right?
Yeah,
Unless
it is.
Alex is doing Mr. Ross, Senor Ross is doing the whole full thing, right? Like in Kingdom Come, right?
Right.
Like they did. And those, isn't that beautiful? Like, okay, Paulo Riviera. I feel like he can do that style. Like it's his realistic stuff, not the level, it's different stylistically, but it is on the same like thematic, nice. It's almost if that is not fine art, the fine art needs to be redefined.
Yeah. Pablo do anything right now? I haven't seen him on a book in a while.
Oh, I thought he was doing Spider-Man covers too. Didn't he do? Okay, well, I have
I've
to
been
look
seeing
it up.
Ross covers, but I don't know. Maybe
Okay,
he's doing
yeah.
variants.
Maybe,
Maybe he's doing
yeah.
variants. I've just been missing them. But he used to do Daredevil. He did the first arc of Daredevil. I think I took it down. I used to have it hanging up. But
Yeah, I
What's
follow him
that,
on
issue number
Instagram,
one?
so I'm not
Great.
sure if stuff he's been
What?
putting.
That issue number 1.
yeah, he did the first arc, and it was great.
And he's a legacy too, right? He's the second of an inker, right? His dad's an inker,
Yeah, I think so.
and that's they collabed on something recently or something.
You realize that too after a while. And like we were talking about earlier, like a kid looking at something and getting influenced, but like, I want to do that. A lot of families get into the same
Right,
business because they see
right.
their dad doing that. You get John Romita Jr. seeing his dad do work, and it's like, I want to do that. And John Romita Jr., on his credit says himself, he goes, I'm not a great artist. My dad's a great artist. He goes, but I love doing it so much that I'll keep doing it until they keep offering it to me. I know people love his style. I really don't like his style, but I don't think it's bad.
No.
I just don't like his style at all.
Yeah. So, and that's how these things work, right? Because like with Jack Kirby, like I read like a lot of like the like Fantastic Four. When I first read Fantastic Four, I was like, this is a little bit too much. What is it, Silver Age, or is that past, or is that Bronze Age? Anyways, it's so much for me. Like encapsulates that time period.
That's what I was saying. What I was saying about Stan Lee. For me, when I read those, I'm like, I can understand that's his style.
Right, you can't get away with that anymore.
But you can't. No.
You know, you would almost have to be making a slight mockery of it to get away with it.
If a Stan Lee came out today and was writing that book, people would be like, "This is horrible." But it's like it's a time and place, and when it's so.
Well, I mean, like, isn't Brian K. Vaughan and God, who else? Grant Morrison, aren't they our like Stan Lees of our time?
But
right?
but in terms of like Stan Lee was purely like these are heroes, and like was very good about making them like pure in a way, right? Still making them flawed, but being like they're heroes. And I feel like Grant Morrison and Brian K. Vaughan take that and they go, but sometimes what if they're not, right? You get Batman who sometimes loses himself a little bit, right? He in that Batman RP arc like takes drugs, awesome. Right?
Yeah.
You get Brian K. Vaughan who takes a story with Marco. We're going to talk about Saga, a little spoilers for Saga, not really. But you take somebody in there for a while, him and Elena, like he was an asshole to her and would try to cheat on her, right?
Yeah, definitely no spoilers. I'm only passing through the book 2 on the big books.
The hard.
See, only for guest
the
hosts
hardcover
do they
ones.
not cross the spoiler line. For me, they'll always cross.
We don't, because to be fair, we've been friends now for 7 years. We've spoiled enough books for you.
I know. I just choose not to read them. I put
something
What
on
about
Facebook.
Runaways? Is that far enough away? Brian K. Vaughan, Runaways.
I haven't read that yet.
Tells a story. Okay.
Boom.
Yeah, I don't think
we're crossing back.
But I mean, they take characters where they see people have expectations of it being like a Stan Lee character, and they play with that being like, oh, you think this guy is a pure hero? And it's like, not really. There's stuff that's going to make you kind of hate them a little bit. And then they have to redeem themselves over and over again.
Let's flip that on its head. How long do you think the superhero stuff is going to go before it goes stagnant again and everybody's like,
well, that's that fine
Batman
line.
and Superman, like
that's that fine line we were talking about. People love to say, why aren't people like giving us fresh ideas? But when they give them fresh ideas, they don't want to go there, right? People love Elseworld Tales. You talk about Kingdom Come, you talk about that. They're like, man, it's great because it's so different. But then if you were to do that and be like, oh, we're changing continuity, people get mad. They always want stuff to reset back how it was. Oh, you can't do that. Batman's not like that. Oh, you can't do that. That's not Superman. So I feel like there's a group of people they have to get over that hump to be like, these characters have to evolve at some point, right? You can't keep resetting them back. You can't keep having Spider-Man become the head of all these corporations and getting these suits.
51-49 on that because I'm just like, man, I feel like we could.
But right, Dan Slott's getting off of
should,
Spider-Man, and right now he's in the reset phase. He's making him lose all his money. He's going back to be the guy who we used to know. So the next person can come back and be like, oh, do your own thing again.
How do you feel about that? Because comic books now is really, when you think about it, if we're going to get down nitty gritty about it, if we're going to break it down, it is a testing ground of ideas.
Yeah. And I think
for media.
Recently, you've been seeing those kind of ideas, and people have been kind of clamoring for them and accepting them. When you get like something like Injustice, where people like the story keeps going, people are changing, and stuff happens and stays permanent. People are like, oh, I like that. You get a story like the DC's doing these Earth 1 books, where it's like, hey, in this world, everything's not going to. For Ultimate, for a while, Ultimate Comics from Marvel was like, hey guys, if they die in Ultimate, it's going to stay dead. People are going to change; they're not going to be the same way anymore. And I think people like Roots of Life like that stuff. But I think it has to be that safety net, like you said, had to be like, this is not really the actual story, though. Like, they don't want their characters who they've grown up to love to die, right? But what happened? They want to see, what if they did die, though? Like, I want that story, but they don't want it to happen.
Right.
And I think that's, if you don't want comics to become stagnant, they got to get over that.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get Superman that dies and stays dead, and Jonathan becomes Superman, right? We need that story. And it doesn't need to be a story that somebody does for an arc and doesn't change.
To be
right?
Batman.
We've seen it.
And I know y'all, and I look, I can feel it from you guys right now. And I'm one of those rare people that is just like, I could actually I'm right now just because of workload. It's really hard to keep up with things just because there's just not enough hours in the day. Literally, I think I'm gonna go to Men in Black hours and start doing 36 hours days. But I think it's about time that we get a full line. If we got Batman Beyond, can we not get?
That's what I mean, though.
Can we not get it now? Has it not been long enough? Do we need to give it another 10 years? Do we need to give it another 20?
Well, they tried it with Dick Grayson, and it was successful. I loved Dick Grayson Batman, and then because sales were dipping and other comics were going stagnant, unfortunately, the wave of New 52.
Grant Morrison said that DC was he wanted to tell that story more, and DC was like, you got to bring Bruce back. And so he brought him back way sooner than he wanted to.
He was back within a year of dying.
He wanted it to last 5 years.
Yeah.
And so within a year, though, they got to bring him back because people, once again, they're like, where's Bruce? But you know what?
What about Gordon? How long was Gordon as Batman in that mech
an
suit?
arc?
Was that
no? That was
a full
9
year?
issues. It was a full year, roughly 3/4 of a year.
Oh, 9 issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you talk about Batman Beyond, people love that, but they love that because at the end of the day, they can be like, well, this is not actually real, though. This is a future
that's my
maybe
hang up
happens.
too.
It's all continuity now.
Okay, but is it if you never get that in the actual Batman, is it really it is maybe in some in that book.
Right.
Why do we do it with The Dark Knight Returns then? Why are we all for that? And we all know subconsciously that is not a part of that's the different that's another what world is that?
Because it's that safe
626 or something
It's that video game thing you were talking about before. It's safe because they think that's not real. They go, oh, he can die in that, but that's okay. He's okay. He's okay in Batman, though.
My thing is that I am a diehard love Bruce. Bruce Wayne is my favorite Batman, but I didn't have the experience of having Nightwing be my Batman for so long. Yes, I've read the Batman Robin. He was in Batman, right? Just
the
title
Batman. Using the title
Right.
Batman.
I hadn't read that. I know he was detective for a while because I've read that. It was good. I'm not a Damian fan. But if you kill Bruce off and you actually bring somebody else in, I am open to reading someone different. It's that if you leave me the option of having Bruce still around, because that's the thing. If you're going to kill Bruce, Bruce needs to be gone. Don't do this, he's going to return in 5 years. Let him be gone. Don't even tell me he's coming back, ever. You can bring him back if you have to hold on to that little line.
But why couldn't it be he could be behind the man behind the chair? Maybe he gets paralyzed, which... kind of like Batman Beyond then. He's decommissioned as Batman. Somebody else takes up the role, establishes themselves as Batman, but you still get your Bruce Wayne fix.
I want Damian brooding.
You want him brooding? You want Daddy dead?
Yeah, Daddy issues. Daddy's gone issues. I'm gonna do this better.
I think my favorite Batman actually is Tim Drake. And he's only Batman for so long, but he was the Batman that I would want.
The murdering Batman that's
No, it's not even that he's murdering, it's the fact that he is so well prepared for everything. He's even better than Bruce at being prepared for everything.
That's a good take on Batman, though, if it is Damian. So you have Bruce, who lost his parents at an early age and became Batman because of that. And then you have Damian now that became Batman because his dad was Batman. Right. And if he loses his dad during that process, then you see a person who grew up with the dad, well, in a way, has a father figure for a longer period of time and teaches them how to do this thing. And then maybe
give him a mommy issue. Give Talia kills Batman or something like that.
And then
mix it.
Then he's trying to live up to his dad's expectations.
I don't know if you ever read Batman Incorporated.
No, that's Morrison, right?
That's Morrison. I don't want to spoil it, but he gets his mommy issues for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think. See, I used to go through this years ago when I was trying to do.
I don't want to spoil it for you because
yeah, I'll go back to that.
Good. You got to read it,
but
try not to cry.
In a way, the Damian character then would be trying to live up to his dad, but also in a way thinking that he can do it better because that's how Damian is. And so you have that dynamic of him being like, I want to honor my father, but I know he did some things wrong. And that's why he's dead.
And then we put Dick Grayson as God.
Don't say the Joker.
No.
Okay.
Nightwing?
As his mentor?
No, as the butler. Who's butler?
Alfred.
As Alfred.
Yeah.
An older Dick Grayson.
He's too
retired
old.
Nightwing.
Yeah. You have him be the man in the chair.
The
man in the chair.
Yeah, the man in the chair.
Batman Beyond. I tell everyone to read this book, but before Rebirth, when Dan Jurgens was writing the series previous to this, Dick Grayson was a retired man behind the chair. He was not with Bruce. Bruce basically is believed dead, and so it's only Terry / Tim. Like Tim was Batman Beyond for a while, then Terry takes back over, but Dick Grayson was the man behind the chair because Bruce wasn't around.
I love playing with all these little like puzzle pieces. Like if I do get a chance, like I'm probably gonna ruin it because I'm just like, oh, that's super.
That's the thing.
This in,
and then my homies are here, but like,
hey, shout out.
No.
Speaking of
that is not an approved message from us.
Speaking of Batman Beyond, shout out to Phil Hester who we're bringing to SuperCon.
Yeah, absolutely,
artist of Batman Beyond. So
dude, I can't wait to meet all those cats, man. This is gonna be so awesome.
SuperCon. We should probably wrap the show up.
Oh yeah. Sorry guys. Yeah,
you're good.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Hey, definitely.
Before we end, though,
I was going to say one more thing. Anything else?
You guys' intro music has got me pumped up. Like, I feel like it's like an 80s movie, and like I'm seeing one of y'all like step out, right? And then like as the music like picks up, like the other guy comes across the street. Yeah, and then like you guys are all like walking down the street, like it's like a Ferris Bueller type, like awesome. Like we should do that intro like someday. Like we just get a camera and get like, walk around. It's awesome. I'm not ripping. I actually do love that you guys' intro. How'd you? I'll ask you afterward. Let's continue around. I just
we can keep talking when we're done with the show.
That's what I was going to say. We could talk for hours on this. We have before the podcast. We actually had that little. We talked for too long, and then we were like, we should probably start the show.
Yeah, it was probably like 2 hours now. What time is it?
Hey, if you complain the show's too long, you can't complain about too much content. Alex, you want to hold that up so I can know what to say? Let's just say here, Daycon, Super Daycon. That's March 10th, 2018. The Western Mall in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the Center
I'm
for
Vanna White, by the way.
Comic Book Genie is going to be there. comicbookgenie.com. Go there and see his artwork. Go to find him on YouTube because he's 5-minute fiascos.
Yep.
You can see him draw some Flash, some Captain America. He'll teach you how to draw. By the way, also taught me the whiteout thing. Didn't even know about it. It's cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To
create void and stuff. Yeah. Create white space. It's cool. You'll be at Daycon, Super Daycon. So make sure to bring your family and friends.
Yeah, everybody. Come get a drawing, come whatever you want. Like if I don't have it there, just let me know and we'll get it going and on the spot. And then maybe if we've got time or the space, maybe I'll be able to bring like a TV and we can do like a 5-minute fiasco with like some kids or something like that. So anybody listening and they got like kids that like comic books, bring them definitely Western Mall, March 10th. The times I'm going to say what do you think? 11 a.m. or
11 a.m.
10
to 9 p.m.
There you go. Long day. 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Featuring cosplay, comics, comedy, video games, gaming, and Elliot will be there with his new comic book. It's sold out, actually. I heard behind the scenes that it's sold out at Diamond. So go and get a copy. A special actually cover will be there. So
awesome.
Is that that's the one we were talking about. The one that's like the 80s.
Yeah.
Elliot Hall's. What's that book called? It has a great name. I love
Elliot Rule is going to be, it's a cult classic.
Cult Classics.
The Whisper book.
Yeah, right.
From Vault Comics will be there. So go and see Elliot. Go and see everybody who's going to be there. Go see Comic Book Genie. Stop by his table. Get a drawing. There'll be also pay-to-play video game tournaments if you want to be there. Everything's free to attend. A goodwill donation is asked if you want to, but everything else is free to attend. Have a nice day with the family and friends. Wednesday Comics 605 at gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know who's your favorites. Let me know. Or on Twitter at Wednesday Comics. You can follow me at Marvin_Saguero, Alex Pastrallo, and Garrot2188, and at Comic Book Genie.
Yep, you just look up Comic Book Genie. I'm sure you find me at any of the Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.
Facebook.com/Wednesday Comics Podcast. Also Comic Book Genie on Facebook and YouTube. Find us on YouTube by searching for Wednesday Comics. You can view the Gauntlet on there. You can view the
Gauntlet,
Catching Up with Garrett, and the audio versions of this show and the forecast on there.
Maybe not last week's.
Call and leave a voicemail, 605-215-1849. Leave us a voicemail. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're picking up, what excites you in the comic book world. Alex, we got a book club coming up?
Sure do.
Wait. Wednesday Comics proudly presents the Leave Extraordinary Gentle... I screwed up at this time.
Yep.
Wednesday Comics Leave Extraordinary Gentle People proudly presents...
Day Tripper. Written by and art by... shit.
Nope.
Gabriel Bond, Fabio Moon.
Nice. Safe. Good. Picked it up.
It is a book about life and about where life takes you. It's a great book. We're going to be talking about it for our book club the first Thursday in April. Get your voicemails in, get your emails in, Twitters in about what you think about the book by the first Wednesday, and we'll include it in the show. Supercon 2018, Return of the Con. That's September 28th, 29th, and 30th. Wednesday Comics will be there on the 28th doing a live show. That Friday night, come and see us. But like I said, buy that weekend pass, $30. See everybody. Go see Comic Book Genie. Go see anybody who's going to be there. Go ahead and talk with people. The greatest thing about comic books or any kind of fandom in general is the community. So go out there and shake hands. And
amen.
Talk with people.
Hallelujah to that.
Rootsoftheswampthing.com. Go there. John Boylan on Twitter at DC World Swampy. On Facebook at facebook.com/Roots of the Swamp Thing. If you had Holland Files, if you were lucky enough to grab a copy, Volume 1 and 2 are out. Fantastic work. And just go there and rootsofswampthing.com, see the content he puts out. A lot of content this week I've seen he put out. He go back and teach you the history of the Avatar of the Green, get to know Swamp Thing a little bit. Make sure to subscribe to the show. That's on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and Spotify. If you can subscribe to the show, leave us a review. I haven't said that in a while. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. And just thank you in general for listening. Hey, tell a friend about the show. If you know somebody who likes comic books and they want to listen to a comic book show, go ahead and let them know. Great show today.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah, again, thank you so
Pleasure to
much.
have you.
Yeah, I feel like I've known you guys for a few years or something already. Like,
Now, we definitely want you back because I
Yeah.
think we could pick your brain and you can pick our
yeah,
brains
we're gonna
for
hang
hours.
out. Yeah, we'll definitely hang out, and
Sure.
maybe start like a comic book beer night or something like that.
Ooh,
You know,
that'd be good.
Yeah. A lot of good talk today. A lot of good stuff. You can listen to this conversation, and then we had the reviews of it before, and we had the talk of the free talk about, what do we talk about in free talk?
Stuff.
Comics.
Comic books, of course. It's comic books. Oh, we talked about how you go back and read trades. That's right. About your process, about organization.
Oh, that's right.
We learned a little bit something about Marvin. Might be learning he has some sort of disorder.
That he can't remember.
Did you check your event that I set for you?
Yeah, I got it in bed.
Nice. That's perfect.
I sent you a picture for a drug that you might need.
Fantastic talk today. Did you? Oh, you did. Fantastic talk today. Like I said, anytime you're welcome back.
oh
Absolutely.
yeah,
We
same
want you back.
guys.
That's
If
the
you guys
greatest-
want to pop your head up in a lamp on one of my fiasco videos, you're more than welcome. Go over. We got a short little green screen room. We go cram in there.
Nice.
The last word I'm going to say, I think the greatest thing about I found about comic books, and I think it's unique to this medium, but maybe it's just more prevalent because it's more like you want to talk to people about it. But I found 95% of the comic book community are great to talk to, and you really do have this kind of passion for this medium. And anytime you talk about anybody, when we had John on too, we went on for a long time about it. It's just something that there's something about it that anybody can find something about that medium that they're like, this is my part that I love. And when you talk about other people, you start hearing what they love about it. Like Alex likes collecting it. He likes having it in his own. Garrett has these characters that he's loved for a long time. He's grown to love this Superman. I love the stories in here. Mikey likes his art. And when you get together in this Wednesday Comics, we give you a podcast telling you how great it is to love these books. For Wednesday Comics, I've been Marvin.
I'm Alex.
Garrett.
And I'm Comic Book Genie.
Hey everyone, keep turning those pages.